Where is JUNGKOOK? Jimin's voice came out broken, barely louder than the hospital monitor beside him. But the moment he said that name, every single person in the room froze. RM stopped near the door. Jin's hand tightened around the paper cup he was holding. Suga looked down like he already knew this would happen. J-Hope covered his mouth, trying not to cry. And Tae-hyung, standing closest to Jimin's bed, looked like someone had just forced him to choose between telling the truth or destroying the only piece Jimin had left. Jimin tried to sit up, but pain shot through his ribs and made him fall back against the pillow. His eyes searched the room again, desperate, confused, terrified. "I asked where JUNGKOOK is," he repeated, this time sharper. Taehyung's lips trembled before he whispered, "Jimin, JUNGKOOK didn't leave because he wanted to." And right there, before Jimin even understood the meaning of those words, tears started falling down Taehyung's face. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and answer this honestly. If the person you loved most disappeared while you were unconscious, would you blame them first, or would you wait for the truth? Because tonight, Jimin wakes up inside a private hospital room with no memory of the last 6 hours, no phone beside him, no JUNGKOOK near him, and 5 members acting like they are hiding something too big to say out loud. Outside the room, security guards are blocking the hallway. Online, rumors are already exploding that Jimin collapsed because of JUNGKOOK. But inside that cold, white room, the real story is worse than anything the public knows. JUNGKOOK made a decision that broke every rule. Taehyung witnessed something he was never supposed to see, and the confession he is about to give will make Jimin realize one painful thing. The person he was begging for may have sacrificed everything just to keep him alive.
The hospital room became too quiet after Taehyung said those words. It was the kind of silence that did not feel empty. It felt full of things nobody dared to say. Jimin stared at him from the bed, his face pale, his lips dry, one hand gripping the blanket so tightly, his knuckles turned white. "What do you mean he didn't leave because he wanted to?" he asked. Taehyung opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Ram stepped forward like he wanted to stop him, like the truth had a timer on it, and if Taehyung spoke too soon, everything would collapse. "Taehyung," RM warned quietly. But Jimin heard that warning. He saw the fear in RM's eyes, and that fear hurt him more than the pain in his body. "Don't do that," Jimin said, his voice low. "Don't stand there and protect me from the truth like I'm some child." Jin swallowed hard. "Jimin, you just woke up. The doctor said you need rest." Jimin turned his head slowly toward him. "I asked for JUNGKOOK Hyung, not a doctor, not rest, JUNGKOOK." The name landed like a blade in the room. Nobody moved, nobody answered. Outside the glass window, 2 security guards stood with their backs straight, blocking the hallway. Beyond them, flashes from cameras still lit up from somewhere below the hospital entrance, bright and cruel, even through the curtains. Jimin noticed it then. The private room, the guards, the closed curtains. The members gathered around him like something terrible had happened, and they were waiting for him to remember it. His breathing changed. "Why are there reporters outside?" he asked. "Why is security here?" Suga rubbed his face with both hands. "Because someone leaked that you were brought here." "Leaked?" Jimin repeated. He looked from Suga to RM. "Why would anyone leak that?" J-Hope finally broke. "Because they're saying JUNGKOOK did this to you." Jimin went completely still. For a second, his face showed no emotion at all. Then his eyes sharpened and the hurt came rushing back, raw and burning. "Who said that?" Ram looked away. "A staff member, maybe more than one. We don't know yet." Jimin tried to push himself up again, ignoring the pain that bent him forward. Jin rushed to help him, but Jimin shoved his hand away. "No, don't touch me. Tell me what happened." "You collapsed during the closed rehearsal," Suga said, keeping his voice steady even though his jaw was tight. "You were exhausted. You had a fever. You didn't tell anyone how bad it was." Jimin blinked, trying to search through broken pieces of memory, the rehearsal room, the lights, the mirror. JUNGKOOK's voice telling him to stop. His own anger. Taehyung reaching for his arm. A loud argument. Someone calling his name, then nothing. "I remember JUNGKOOK yelling," Jimin whispered. "He wasn't yelling at you," J-Hope said fast. "He was yelling because nobody listened when he said you were sick." Jimin looked at him. "Then why is everyone blaming him?" Taehyung's breath shook. "Because the last thing people saw before you collapsed was JUNGKOOK grabbing your wrist." Jimin's eyes dropped to his wrist. There was a faint bruise there, small but visible, just above the hospital band. His expression changed, and for one awful second, everyone saw the doubt enter him. Not because he believed JUNGKOOK would hurt him, but because his body carried evidence he did not understand. RM saw it too, and his voice softened. "Jimin, listen to me. That bruise is not what people think." "Then what is it?" Jimin asked. "He grabbed you because you were about to fall." Taeyoung stepped closer, tears still on his face. "No, that's not the whole truth." RM turned to him sharply. "Taeyoung," but Taeyoung did not stop this time. He grabbed him before that too, in the hallway. During the argument, Jimin's heart dropped. What argument? The members exchanged looks, and that was enough. Jimin felt something inside him break loose, something more painful than fear. "You all know," he said. "You all know something about me and Jungkook, and none of you want to say it." Jin looked devastated. "It's not like that, then say it." Nobody did. Jimin let out a bitter laugh that sounded nothing like him. "So I wake up in a hospital, the whole world thinks Jungkook hurt me. Jungkook is missing, Taeyoung is crying, and you expect me to lie here calmly?" He pulled the IV line slightly when he shifted, and the machine beside him beeped faster. J-Hope panicked. "Jimin, please, where's my phone?" Jimin demanded. RM hesitated. That hesitation answered him before words could. "Where's my phone?" he repeated. Suga finally said, "Management took it." Jimin's eyes widened. "Management took my phone? To stop you from seeing the rumors? Or to stop me from contacting Jungkook?" No one answered quickly enough. Jimin's face hardened. "Give it back." "We can't," Jin said. "Bang PD Nim ordered." "I don't care who ordered it." Jimin's voice cracked, but he did not lower it. "You think you're protecting me? You're trapping me." Taeyoung flinched at that word, trapping, because it was exactly what the room felt like. A clean, expensive, private cage. RM took a slow breath. "Jimin, Jungkook is not here because management removed him from the hospital." Jimin stopped breathing for a moment. "Removed him?" They said his presence would make the scandal worse. Suga's voice was flat, but anger sat underneath every word. They told him to go back to the dorm and stay silent. Jimin stared at them, and he agreed. This time, nobody spoke. That silence was different. He saw it. He saw the truth hiding behind their faces. Jungkook had not simply agreed. Something else happened. Jimin turned slowly back to Taeyoung. "What did you see?" Taeyoung's face crumpled. "Jimin, what did you see?" Taeyoung wiped his face with the back of his hand, but the tears kept coming. "I saw Jungkook kneeling in the parking lot." The room froze again. Jimin's voice became small. "What?" "He was begging them to let him see you. He kept saying, 'Just 1 minute. Let me know if he's breathing. Let me hear it from the doctor.' But they wouldn't let him in." Jimin's hand loosened around the blanket. His eyes started shining. "Why would they do that?" Taeyoung looked at RM, then at Jin, then back at Jimin as if asking forgiveness before he even spoke. "Because Jungkook threatened to expose what really happened at rehearsal." Jimin's face drained. "Expose what?" Taeyoung's voice broke. "That you didn't collapse because of him. You collapsed because someone forced you to keep rehearsing after the medical team told them to stop." Jimin went silent. The beeping beside him sounded too loud now. Jin closed his eyes. J-Hope turned away, crying quietly. Suga's fists curled at his sides and looked like a leader who had spent years holding a wall upright, only to realize the wall had been built on someone's pain. Jimin whispered, "Who forced me?" Nobody wanted to answer, and that made the answer worse. "Who?" Jimin demanded. RM's voice was low. "The company director on site. He said the comeback schedule couldn't be delayed." Jimin looked down at his hands. Pieces of memory returned in flashes, a cold towel pressed to his neck. Jungkook's voice saying, "He's burning up." A staff member saying, "5 more takes." Jimin smiling even though his legs were shaking. Jungkook stepping in front of him. The director's angry face. Taeyoung watching from the side, helpless. Then Jungkook's hand around his wrist, firm, desperate, trying to pull him away from the mirror before Jimin could lie again and say he was fine. Jimin closed his eyes, and a tear slipped down his temple into his hair. "He tried to stop it," Jimin whispered. Taeyoung nodded, crying harder. "He tried so hard." Jimin opened his eyes again. The softness disappeared, replaced by something more dangerous than sadness. "Then why is his name being destroyed?" Suga answered with no hesitation. "Because it's easier to blame Jungkook than admit the company ignored a medical warning." The truth settled over the room like smoke. Jimin turned toward the window where the flashes still came from below. His face was weak, but his eyes were not. RM stepped closer. "Jimin, we can't. He's being watched. Call him. His phone is off. Then find him." "We're trying." Jimin looked back at him. "No, you're waiting." RM flinched. That one word hit harder than shouting. Jimin's voice dropped, but every syllable cut. "That's what we always do, right? We wait. We wait for the company to decide. We wait for the public to calm down. We wait until the damage is done, then we call it protection." Jin's eyes filled with pain. "Jimin, no, Hyung." Jimin shook his head slowly. "Not this time." Taeyoung moved closer to the bed. "There's more." The room went cold. Jimin looked at him. "More?" Taeyoung nodded, barely able to speak. "Before they dragged Jungkook away, he gave me something." He reached into his jacket pocket with trembling fingers and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It had been crushed, like someone had held it too tightly for too long. RM's eyes widened. Taehyung, what is that? Taehyung ignored him. He stepped to Jimin's bed and placed the paper in Jimin's hand. He told me not to give it to you unless you woke up asking for him. Jimin stared at the folded paper. His hand shook. What is it? Taehyung whispered. His confession. Jimin did not open the paper right away. He held it in his hand like it might burn him. The room seemed to shrink around him. Every white wall pressing closer. Every machine sounding louder. Every breath from the members becoming part of the pressure building in his chest. Jungkook's confession. That word alone made his throat tighten. Confession could mean anything, an apology, a goodbye, a truth he had hidden. A secret Jimin was not ready to hear. RM stepped forward quickly. Jimin, maybe you should wait. Jimin did not look at him. Why? RM had no answer that did not sound like fear. Suga spoke instead, because once you read it, you can't unread it. Jimin let out a dry laugh. That's the whole point of truth, Young. Jin sat down slowly in the chair beside the bed, his face pale. J-Hope stood near the window, wiping his tears but unable to stop watching Jimin's hands. Taehyung stayed at the foot of the bed, eyes red, shoulders tense, as if he had already betrayed someone by handing over the letter. Jimin unfolded it carefully. The paper had only a few lines written in Jungkook's handwriting, rushed and uneven, nothing like the neat words he usually wrote for fans or lyrics. Jimin read the first line and stopped breathing. Jimin, if you wake up and ask for me, it means you still trust me more than the version of me they're about to show you. Jimin's fingers tightened. His eyes moved to the next line. I grabbed your wrist because you were going to collapse, but I also grabbed it because I was scared that if I let go, they would win. He swallowed hard. His vision blurred, but he forced himself to continue. I have evidence. I recorded the director telling you to keep going after the medic warned him. If I release it, the company will burn. If I don't, they will bury me and let you believe I left. Jimin stopped. The paper shook in his hand. RM's face changed completely. He recorded it? Taehyung nodded. I think so. Suga cursed under his breath and turned away. Jin pressed both hands to his mouth. J-Hope whispered. That's why they took him. Jimin's eyes dropped to the final line. I'm sorry I couldn't stay beside your bed. I chose to become the villain outside so you could survive inside. Don't forgive me too quickly. Just wake up. Jimin, read it once, then again. Then a third time, slower, like the words might change if he stared hard enough. But they stayed there, brutal and simple. Jungkook had not abandoned him. Jungkook had taken the hit, the rumor, the blame, the isolation, all of it. Jimin's face twisted, and he pressed the paper against his chest as if that could pull Jungkook closer. Why didn't anyone tell me, he whispered. RM's voice was rough. You were unconscious before that. Jimin looked up, tears spilling now. Why didn't anyone tell me he was fighting for me before I collapsed? Why did I have to wake up and feel like he left me? Taehyung stepped forward. Because I stopped him. Jimin looked at him, stunned. What? Taehyung's eyes filled again, but this time the tears came with shame. When Jungkook wanted to release the recording right away, I told him not to. I told him it would destroy everything. The comeback, the team, the staff who depend on us. I told him to wait. Jimin's expression changed from heartbreak to disbelief. You told him to wait while people blamed him for hurting me? I didn't know they would twist it that far. But you knew he had proof. Yes, and you still told him to stay quiet. Taehyung lowered his head. Yes, the answer cracked something open in Jimin. Why? Taehyung looked up, and the guilt in his face was so raw that even Suga looked away. Because I was scared. Jimin stared at him. Of what? Of losing everything. Taehyung's voice trembled. Of the company turning against us. Of the public calling us ungrateful. Of the team breaking apart. Of Jungkook doing something reckless because of you. Jimin flinched. Because of me? Taehyung stepped back like he regretted the words immediately. But it was too late. Jimin heard them. Everyone heard them. The room tightened again. Taehyung, stop. But Jimin raised a hand. No, let him talk. Taehyung's jaw shook. I didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it? Taehyung looked desperate now. Jungkook doesn't think when it comes to you. He stops caring about consequences. He'll burn himself alive if it means keeping you warm. And I was scared that if he released that recording while you were unconscious, he'd destroy himself before you even woke up. Jimin's tears slowed. His face came unreadable. So you decided for him. Taehyung nodded once. Ashamed. I tried to. And now where is he? Taehyung could not answer. Jimin's voice turned cold. Exactly, J-Hope stepped in, voice shaking. Jimin, Tae made a mistake, but he was trying to protect the group. Jimin turned toward him. And who was protecting Jungkook? The question destroyed the room. Nobody had an answer. Not RM, not Jin, not Suga, not J-Hope, not Taehyung. They had all been protecting something. The schedule, the team, the reputation, the comeback, the fragile system that held their lives together. But Jungkook had been standing alone in the parking lot, begging to know if Jimin was alive. And that image lodged inside Jimin's chest like broken glass. He pulled the blanket away and swung his legs toward the side of the bed. Jin stood instantly. No, absolutely not. Move, you can barely stand. Then help me stand or get out of my way. RM blocked him. Jimin, listen. The hospital is surrounded. If you leave now, cameras will tear you apart. They'll ask about JUNGKOOK. They'll ask if he hurt you. They'll twist every expression on your face. JIMIN looked up at him. Then I'll give them an expression they can't twist. Suga's eyes narrowed. What are you planning? JIMIN reached toward the bedside table, but his phone was not there. The emptiness made his anger sharper. I'm going live. Jin looked horrified. You are not going live from a hospital bed. Why not? Everyone else gets to talk about me. Why can't I? RM shook his head because one wrong sentence could put JUNGKOOK in more danger. That stopped him, but only for a second. Then tell me what sentence saves him. The truth. But not rushed, not while you're unstable. Jimin's laugh was painful. I've been unstable for years. We just call it professionalism. Jin's face broke. Don't say that. Why? Because it sounds ugly when I say it out loud? He looked at all of them one by one. You all saw me yesterday. You saw my hand shaking. You saw me sweating through practice. You saw JUNGKOOK telling me to stop. And what did you do? J-Hope cried harder. I thought you wanted to keep going. I did, Jimin said. That's the problem. I always want to keep going even when I shouldn't. Someone was supposed to stop me. Arm closed his eyes, and when he opened them, the leader mask was gone. You're right. The room quieted. Jimin stared at him, continued, voice heavy. We failed you. We failed JUNGKOOK too. Jin looked down. Suga did not argue. J-Hope covered his face. Taehyung looked like he had been waiting to hear that and dreading it at the same time. Jimin's anger flickered, but it did not disappear. Then fix it. We will, no. Not later. Not after a meeting. Not after management approves a statement now. Suga turned toward the door. I'll find out where they took JUNGKOOK. Jin stood too. I'll call the doctor and get your official medical condition in writing, something they can't bury. J-Hope wiped his face. I'll contact the dancers. Some of them saw the warning from the medic. RM looked at Taehyung. Taehyung's face tightened. He looked at Jimin. I'll tell the truth. Jimin's eyes stayed on him. All of it? Taehyung nodded. All of it. For a moment, Jimin almost softened. Almost, but then the door opened without a knock. A man in a dark suit stepped in, followed by 2 staff members. His expression was polite, calm, and dangerous in the way only powerful people could be dangerous without raising their voice. Jimin see, he said. I'm glad you're awake. Arm moved between him and the bed. Director Kang, this is not a good time. The director smiled faintly. It's exactly the right time. Jimin recognized his voice before his face fully settled in his memory. 5 more takes. Don't make this difficult. The fever is not visible on camera. Jimin's fingers curled around JUNGKOOK's letter. You, he whispered. Director Kang looked at the paper in his hand, and for 1 second his calm expression cracked. Then it returned. I see JUNGKOOK has already caused more trouble. Jimin's eyes went dark. Where is he? The director adjusted his cuff. Somewhere he can't hurt you again. Taehyung stepped forward. Don't lie. The director looked at him with cold amusement. Careful, Taehyung-si. Confession is expensive. Jimin's heart pounded. What did you do to him? The director's smile faded. I gave him a choice. What choice? The director looked directly at Jimin. Disappear quietly until the scandal dies, or watch the entire world see how far he was willing to go for you. Nobody spoke after Director Kang said that. Even the machine seemed to hesitate, as if the room itself understood the threat hidden under his calm voice. Jimin stared at him, trying to read what kind of trap had already been set. What does that mean? He asked. Director Kang took another step into the room, but RM blocked him with his body. The director did not look bothered. He looked almost entertained. It means your friend has always been emotional, talented, yes. Popular, of course. But emotional people make mistakes. And mistakes become evidence when cameras are nearby. Jimin's stomach turned cold. What cameras? Suga's voice sharpened. What did you record? Director Kang smiled slightly. Security footage exists in many places. Rehearsal rooms, hallways, parking areas, hospitals. Jin's face hardened. Are you threatening him while he's in a hospital bed? I'm protecting all of you from a bigger disaster. Jimin laughed once, bitter and weak. That's what people like you always call it. The director's eyes slid to him. Be careful. You're tired, emotional. You may say something you regret. I regret staying quiet. That wiped the smile from the director's face. Jimin pushed himself straighter against the pillows, pain crossing his face, but he did not back down. You knew I had a fever. Director Kang's jaw moved. I knew you were under pressure. You heard the medic say I needed to stop. The medic advised caution. There is a difference. You told them to keep filming because you said you could continue. Jimin froze. The words hit him exactly where they were meant to because part of him remembered. He had said it. He had smiled, bowed his head, wiped sweat from his chin and said he was fine. He had done what he always did. Director Kang saw the crack and pressed into it. Should we blame everyone else for believing your own words? JUNGKOOK's letter crumpled in Jimin's hand. Rum's voice turned dangerous. Enough. But Director Kang kept his eyes on Jimin. You are respected because you endure. Don't turn that endurance into a weapon against the people who built the stage under your feet. Suga stepped forward. The stage wasn't built by you. The director glanced at him. Careful, Suga-se. No, you be careful. Suga's voice was low, but every word carried weight. Because if JUNGKOOK recorded you, then the only reason you're standing here smiling is because you haven't found the file yet. The director's eyes narrowed. That was the first real sign of fear. Jimin noticed. So did RM, so did Taeyoung. Director Kang recovered quickly, but not fast enough. There is no file, Taeyoung whispered. You're lying. The director turned to him. Am I? Taeyoung took a shaky breath, then looked at Jimin. JUNGKOOK gave me the letter, but not the recording. Jimin's face changed. Then where is it? I don't know. The director smiled again. Exactly. Jimin's throat tightened. The evidence existed, but nobody knew where. JUNGKOOK had hidden it, or management had taken it, or worse, JUNGKOOK had it with him now wherever they had sent him. RM looked at the director. What do you want? A simple statement, Director Kang said, from Jimin. He will say he collapsed due to personal exhaustion, that JUNGKOOK was not involved, and that all rumors are false, clean, short, emotional enough to calm fans, not specific enough to create legal issues. J-Hope looked confused and angry. That clears JUNGKOOK. Suga shook his head. No, it clears the company too. Director Kang did not deny it. Jimin stared at him. And if I refuse? The director's voice softened. Then the public may see selected footage from the hallway. Jin's face went white. Selected? JUNGKOOK grabbing your wrist. JUNGKOOK shouting at staff. JUNGKOOK pushing a security guard in the parking lot. Jimin's heart clenched. He pushed someone? Taeyoung spoke quickly. Because they wouldn't let him inside. Director Kang tilted his head. The reason rarely matters once the clip is online. That sentence was the ugliest truth in the room. Jimin knew it. All of them knew it. A clip without context could become a weapon. JUNGKOOK's desperation could be edited into violence. His protection could be framed as control. His love could be made to look like obsession. Jimin closed his eyes for 1 second, and in the darkness behind his eyelids, he saw JUNGKOOK standing in a hospital parking lot, rain on his hair, hands shaking, begging for 1 minute. Then he opened his eyes. You want me to save you by silencing him? Director Kang's face stayed calm. I want you to save the group. Jimin turned to M. Is that what he told JUNGKOOK too? RM's expression darkened. Probably. The director's gaze snapped toward him. RM did not look away. Don't one word. Quiet. Final. Director Kang studied him, and for the first time he seemed to understand he had walked into a room that was no longer as divided as he expected. But he still had power. He still had footage. He still had the company machinery behind him, and he knew it. You have 30 minutes, he said. After that, the statement goes out with or without your approval. Jimin's eyes widened. You'd release a statement under my name? Prepared statements are standard during crisis management. Jin stood so fast the chair scraped the floor. That is not happening. Director Kang looked at him coolly. Then persuade him. He turned toward the door, then paused. And one more thing. If any of you try to contact JUNGKOOK before this is settled, we'll consider it interference. Suga laughed coldly. Interference with what? Covering your own mess? The director did not answer him. He looked at Jimin one last time. Think carefully. JUNGKOOK has already made himself look guilty. Don't make yourself look unstable trying to defend him. Then he left. The door closed behind him with a soft click that felt louder than a slam. For several seconds, no one moved. Then Jimin whispered, find him. RM turned immediately to Suga. Do it. Suga pulled out his phone. I already texted someone. Jin looked toward the door. They'll be watching all outgoing calls. Suga's mouth tightened. Then I won't call. J-Hope stepped closer to Jimin. We need to get you safe first. Jimin looked at him. I'm not safe here. Nobody argued. That was the worst part. The private hospital room, the guards, the expensive silence, the official smiles, all of it had been designed to look like protection. But now they understood. It was containment. Jimin looked at Taehyung. You said you'd tell the truth. Taehyung nodded. I will. Then start with me. Taehyung froze. What? Jimin's voice was quiet. There's something you're still hiding. Taehyung looked down. RM said softly. Jimin. Jimin ignored him. When I asked where JUNGKOOK was, you cried before you told me anything. Not because of the director. Not because of the rumors. You cried because of your confession. Taehyung's face crumbled again. Jimin's eyes burned. What did you confess to JUNGKOOK? The room shifted. Jin looked at Taehyung sharply. J-Hope's mouth opened slightly. Suga stopped typing. Closed his eyes like he had been waiting for this blade to fall. Taehyung gripped the footboard of Jimin's bed. I told him I was jealous. Jimin blinked. Jealous of what? Taehyung's lips trembled. Of him. Jimin stared, confused and hurt. Why? Taehyung looked up. Tears spilling again. Because no matter how many years we've been together, no matter how close we all are, when you're scared, you look for JUNGKOOK first. Jimin went silent. Taehyung continued, voice breaking. And when JUNGKOOK is hurt, he doesn't call anyone. He looks for you. It's like there's a door between you two that the rest of us can't open, Jin whispered. But Taehyung could not stop anymore. When you collapsed, JUNGKOOK went crazy, not angry, not dramatic, crazy with fear. He kept saying your name like if he stopped, you would die, and I hated myself because part of me thought, even now, even like this, he gets to be the one who loves you the loudest. Jimin's eyes filled again, but this time the tears came from somewhere deeper than betrayal. Tae-young shook his head. So when he wanted to release the recording, I told him he was being selfish. I told him he was using your condition as an excuse to fight the company, I told him. His voice collapsed. I told him if he really loved you, he would disappear before he ruined your life. The words entered Jimin slowly. Then they destroyed him all at once. His lips parted, but no sound came. Jae hoped away, horrified. Suga's expression went dark. Ram whispered, Tae-young. Tae-young cried openly now. I didn't mean it. I was scared. I was angry. I was jealous. And Jungkook just stood there. He didn't defend himself. He just looked at me and said, if disappearing keeps him breathing, then I'll disappear. Jimin's face broke completely. He pressed Jungkook's letter to his chest and bent forward, shaking from pain, grief, and the weight of what Jungkook had carried alone. Jin reached for him but stopped, afraid to make it worse. Jimin cried without sound at first, then his breath cracked and the room heard it. The raw little sound of someone realizing the person he had been searching for had not left him at all. He had been pushed away by fear, by power, and by the people who loved him badly. When Jimin finally looked up, his eyes were red, but his voice was steady. Then we don't have 30 minutes. RM looked at him. What do you mean? Jimin wiped his face with the back of his hand. If Jungkook believed disappearing would save me, then he'll go somewhere no one can find him. Suga's phone vibrated. He looked down and his face changed. Too late. Everyone turned to him. What? Suga read the message once, then again. His voice dropped. Jungkook left the dorm 20 minutes ago. Jimin's blood ran cold. Where did he go? Suga looked up. No one knows. The first thing Jimin felt was not panic, it was certainty. A sharp, awful certainty that Jungkook was not simply hiding. Jungkook was running toward a decision he had already made, the kind of decision he would not ask permission for, the kind he would carry alone because he thought alone meant safer for everyone else. Give me a phone, Jimin said. RM looked at him. Jimin, give me a phone. Suga stepped closer and handed him his without hesitation. Jin looked alarmed. Yoongi. Suga did not look away from Jimin. He needs to try. Jimin took the phone with trembling hands and dialed Jungkook's number from memory. It rang once, twice, then went straight to voicemail. Jimin tried again, same thing. He tried a third time, and this time his breathing shook so hard J-Hope had to steady the IV line before it pulled from his arm. Jungkook? Jimin whispered into the dead line, as if Jungkook could hear him through silence. Pick up, please. Tae-young stood frozen near the bed, guilt holding him in place. RM was already typing messages to contacts, managers he still trusted, drivers, security staff, anyone who might have seen Jungkook leave. Jin stepped outside to argue with the nurse and demand that nobody from management enter the room again. J-Hope stayed close to Jimin, not touching him too much, just near enough to catch him if he fell. Suga moved to the window and pulled the curtain aside just enough to look down. Camera flashes still burned below. Reporters are multiplying, he said. Something leaked again. RM looked up sharply. What? Suga refreshed his phone, then his expression hardened. A headline just dropped. Jungkook removed from hospital after violent incident involving Jimin. Jimin went still. Read it. J-Hope shook his head. No, read it. Suga hesitated, then read in a low voice. Sources claim Jungkook was escorted away after an emotional confrontation following Jimin's sudden collapse. Witnesses describe Jungkook as unstable and aggressive. Jimin's face drained of color. Witnesses, his laugh was hollow. They mean the people who watched me collapse and did nothing. RM's phone buzzed. He checked it and cursed softly. The company statement is being prepared now. Under my name? Jimin asked. RM did not answer. He did not need to. Jimin pushed the blanket off again. This time, when Jin rushed back into the room and saw him trying to stand, he did not tell him to lie down. He saw Jimin's face and understood that something had shifted beyond control. You can't walk out like this, Jin said. But his voice was different now, not commanding, pleading. Then get me a wheelchair. J-Hope looked toward RM. Can we even move him? Stayed at Jimin for a long second, then made the decision a leader makes when obedience becomes betrayal. We move him, Jin inhaled sharply. RM's voice was quiet. If we leave him in this room, they'll use his name to bury Jungkook. That settled it. J-Hope ran to get the nurse. Suga kept working his phone, trying to locate Jungkook through back channels. Tae-young finally moved, stepping closer to Jimin. Let me help. Looked at him, and the pain between them was still there, heavy and unresolved. Not because you feel guilty. Tae-young flinched. I do feel guilty. I know, Jimin's voice was tired, but guilt makes people panic. I need you useful, not sorry. Tae-young took the hit. He nodded. Tell me what to do. Jimin looked down at Jungkook's letter, then back at him. Think. If Jungkook wanted to hide evidence from the company, where would he put it? Tae-young wiped his face and forced himself to breathe. Not on his phone. They checked that first. Suga turned slightly. Cloud RM shook his head. Too risky if company devices are logged in. Jin said, external drive? Taeyong closed his eyes, trying to remember. At rehearsal, before everything exploded, JUNGKOOK kept touching his in-ear case. Jimin looked at him sharply. His in-ear case? The black one. He had it in his jacket pocket. Suga's eyes narrowed. Small enough for his micro SD. Would he do that? Suga answered immediately. Yes. Jimin's heartbeat kicked harder. Where is the jacket? Nobody knew. That became the next problem. JUNGKOOK's jacket could be at rehearsal, in the van, at the dorm, with management, or with JUNGKOOK. Every possibility opened a new door and a new threat. The nurse entered with J-Hope, alarmed by the tension in the room, but RM spoke before she could protest. We need a wheelchair. He is not being discharged. We are moving him inside the hospital for safety. The nurse looked uncertain. I need doctor approval. Jin stepped forward. Polite but firm in a way that left no space. Then call the doctor now. While the nurse hesitated, the door opened again. This time it was not Director Kang. It was one of the younger managers, pale and sweating, holding a tablet. Hyung, he said to RM, voice shaking. You need to see this. RM took the tablet. The others crowded closer except Jimin, who watched their faces. That was how he knew it was bad before anyone said a word. Suga's eyes went flat. Jin whispered something under his breath. J-Hope looked like he might be sick. Taeyong's face turned ashen. Jimin's voice was calm in the most terrifying way. Show me. RM hesitated. Jimin held out his hand. Show me. RM gave him the tablet. The screen showed a paused video from a gossip account. The thumbnail was blurry but clear enough. JUNGKOOK in the hospital parking area, hair messy, face twisted with panic, one hand gripping a security guard's sleeve. JUNGKOOK loses control after Jimin collapse. Full video soon. Jimin stared at it. His fingers tightened around the tablet. They're releasing it. The young manager nodded. In pieces, they said more clips are coming. Who sent it? RM asked. The manager swallowed. Anonymous source. Suga's voice was cold. Director Kang, the manager, did not confirm it, but his silence was enough. Jimin pressed play. The video lasted only 7 seconds. JUNGKOOK's voice came through distorted, desperate. Let me see him. I need to see him. Move. Then the clip cut right as his body pushed forward, making it look like he attacked the guard. No part showed the guard shoving him first. No part showed JUNGKOOK begging for the doctor. No part showed his shaking hands or the way he almost fell apart when they told him Jimin was still unconscious. Jimin watched it once, then again. Then he looked up. They made him look violent. Taeyong's voice broke. I caused this. Jimin did not comfort him. Not yet, no. Director Kang caused this. The company enabled it. We all stayed quiet too long. He handed the tablet back to RM. Now we stop. The nurse returned with a wheelchair, still uncertain, but clearly overwhelmed by the room's urgency. Jin and J-Hope helped Jimin move carefully from the bed. Pain flashed across his face, but he bit it down. His body was weak, but his expression had become something else entirely. Not recovered, not safe, but awake in every way that mattered. As J-Hope adjusted the blanket around him, Jimin looked at Suga. Find the jacket. Suga nodded, already asking. RM looked at him. Stop the statement. I'll try, don't try. Stop it. RM held his gaze, then nodded once. I'll stop it. Jimin turned to Jin. Call the doctor. I want a medical report that says exactly what happened to my body. Jin's jaw tightened. Done. Then Jimin looked at Taeyong. The room seemed to hold its breath. Taeyong stood straighter, waiting for whatever punishment Jimin would give him. Jimin's voice was quiet. You're coming with me, Taeyong blinked. Me, you saw everything, and JUNGKOOK trusted you enough to give you the letter, even after what you said to him. Taeyong looked down, destroyed by that truth. Jimin continued, so now you're going to earn that trust back. Taeyong nodded, tears slipping again. I will. The young manager stepped aside as RM opened the door. The hallway outside was brighter than the room, lined with security, staff, and tension. People turned when they saw Jimin in the wheelchair. Some looked relieved, some looked terrified, some looked like they were already calculating what his appearance meant for the scandal. Jimin ignored them all. He held JUNGKOOK's letter in his lap, one hand over it like a promise. They moved down the hallway slowly, RM in front, Jin and J-Hope beside him, Suga behind, Taeyong close enough to hear Jimin's uneven breathing. At the end of the hall, Director Kang appeared again, as if he had been waiting for them. His eyes dropped to the wheelchair, then to Jimin's face. Where do you think you're going? He asked. Jimin looked at him without blinking. To tell the truth, Director Kang's smile was thin. You really think truth wins against timing? Jimin's hand tightened over JUNGKOOK's letter. No, he said. That's why I'm not waiting anymore. Director Kang stepped closer, lowering his voice so only they could hear. If you defend him now, you will tie your name to his scandal forever. Jimin's eyes did not move. Good. The director frowned. Jimin leaned forward slightly, pain cutting through him, but his voice stayed clear. Then when they dragged JUNGKOOK, they'll have to drag me with him. Behind Director Kang, a phone started ringing. Then another. Then another. Staff members looked down at their screens, faces changing one by one. Suga checked his phone too, and for the first time that night, His mouth parted in shock, turned toward him. What? Suga looked at Jimin, then at Taeyoung. Jungkook posted something. Jimin's heart stopped. Taeyoung whispered, what did he post? Suga swallowed, eyes locked on the screen. A black screen, one sentence. Jimin's voice barely came out. Read it. Suga looked up slowly. He wrote, if they release the lie, I release the recording.
The hallway exploded without anyone raising their voice. It was not chaos at first. It was worse than chaos. It was panic pretending to be order. Staff members looked at their phones, then at Director Kang, then at Jimin in the wheelchair, as if they were waiting for one man to decide which truth was allowed to exist. Jungkook's post was only one sentence, but it cut through every prepared statement, every edited clip, every quiet threat. If they release the lie, I release the recording. Jimin stared at Suga, unable to move. For a second, the hospital hallway disappeared. All he could see was Jungkook somewhere alone, phone in his hand, choosing war because silence had become more dangerous than exposure. Where did he post it? Jimin asked. Suga looked down again. His private story. But someone already screenshotted it. It's spreading. RM took his own phone and saw the repost multiplying faster than anyone could control. Fan accounts, news pages, anonymous blogs, even staff rumor channels were repeating the same sentence. Nobody knew what recording Jungkook meant yet, but everybody understood one thing. Jungkook was not begging anymore. He was warning them. Director Kang's face hardened. Take that down. Suga looked at him with open disgust. Ask him yourself. I said take it down. RM stepped forward, his voice low but firm. We don't have access to Jungkook's account. Director Kang turned to the young manager. Call digital response. Freeze his socials now. Jimin's head snapped up. You can do that? The manager looked trapped. They can request emergency access through company administration if the account is linked. Don't, Jimin said. The word came out quiet, but it stopped him. The manager looked at Director Kang, then at RM, then back at Jimin. Director Kang's eyes narrowed. Jimin, see, this is exactly why you should be resting in your room. Jimin laughed once, a flat broken sound. Resting? You mean locked away? I mean protected from making an emotional mistake. Funny, Jimin said, fingers tightening around Jungkook's letter. That's what you called it when you forced me to dance with a fever. The hallway went still. Several staff members heard him. Some looked down immediately. Some froze with guilt on their faces. Director Kang saw it too and lowered his voice. Careful. Jimin leaned forward in the wheelchair, pain cutting across his ribs, but his eyes stayed on the director. No, you be careful, because I woke up confused, but I'm not confused anymore. RM put one hand lightly on the back of Jimin's wheelchair, not to control him, but to stand with him. Jin moved to Jimin's right side. J-Hope stood on the left. Suja stayed behind, phone still in hand, already hunting for the next move. Taeyoung stood a step back, face pale, but he did not hide. Director Kang looked at all of them and finally understood that the old rule was breaking. The rule that said management spoke first, members stayed silent, and truth waited until it was useful. You think this is loyalty? Director Kang asked. Protecting Jungkook while he threatens the company? Jimin answered before RM could. No. This is what loyalty looks like when the company stops deserving obedience. Jin inhaled sharply. Even Suga looked at Jimin with surprise. Not because the sentence was wrong, but because Jimin had said it out loud, in a hallway full of witnesses. Director Kang's calm face tightened into something colder. You have no idea what you're starting. Jimin's voice dropped. I know exactly what you started. The young manager's phone rang. He looked at the screen and almost dropped it. It's legal. Director Kang snatched the phone from him and stepped aside, but not far enough. They could still hear pieces. No, he's awake. Yes. All of them are here. No, the statement hasn't gone out. Jungkook posted publicly enough to create risk. Find the account access now. Jimin looked at Suga. Can they delete it? Suga's thumbs moved fast across his screen. Maybe the original, but not the screenshots. Too late, J-Hope whispered. Then Jungkook knew that. RM nodded slowly. He posted it somewhere that would leak. Taeyoung's voice was hoarse. He wanted them to panic. Jimin looked ahead, toward the end of the hallway, where a secure elevator waited behind another set of guards. No, he said. He wanted me to know he was still fighting. That sentence hurt everyone. Because it was true. Jungkook's message had not only been a threat to Director Kang, it had been a flare in the dark, a way of saying, I am still here. I did not leave you. I am making them choose. Suga's phone buzzed again. This time he answered without greeting. Talk. He listened for 5 seconds, then his face changed. Say that again. Jimin turned. What is it? Suga lifted his eyes. Someone saw Jungkook near the old practice building. RM frowned. Why would he go there? Taeyoung's breath caught. The jacket. Jimin's hand tightened around the letter. Of course, if the in-ear case held the recording, and if the jacket had been left at the old practice building after the chaos, Jungkook would go back for it. Alone. With the company looking for him. With the public turning on him. With legal teams trying to lock down his account. Jimin pushed his hands against the wheelchair arms. Take me there. Jin immediately said, no. Jimin turned to him. Hyung, no. I am not letting you leave a hospital and run into a meteor storm while you can. Barely sit upright. Then you go. Jin froze. What? Jimin's eyes burned. If I can't go, then you go. All of you. Find him before they do. RM looked toward the secure elevator. We split up. Director Kang ended his call and turned back just in time to hear that. No one is going anywhere. Suga smiled without warmth. Watch us. The director lifted his phone. Security. The guards at the elevator straightened. The hallway changed instantly. It was no longer only a hospital corridor. It became a border. On one side, Jimin and the members. On the other, the company, the guards, the rules, the machine. J-Hope's face hardened in a way Jimin had rarely seen. You're really going to stop us from finding him? Director Kang answered smoothly. I'm stop a crisis from becoming a public disaster. RM stepped forward. Jungkook may be in danger. Jungkook is the danger. The words came out before the director could soften them. Jimin's face went still, the kind of stillness that came before something broke. Say that again, he said. Director Kang looked at him. Jimin, see. Say it again. Say Jungkook is the danger while I'm sitting here holding the letter he wrote before letting everyone hate him for my sake. Taeyong closed his eyes. Jin's jaw clenched. RM's expression became unreadable. Director Kang said nothing. Jimin nodded slowly. That's what I thought. Then he looked at the young manager, the nurse, the guards, every staff member pretending not to listen. Everyone here knows what happened tonight. Some of you saw it. Some of you heard it. Some of you already regret staying quiet. So here's your choice. Keep following orders and become part of the lie. Or remember that Jungkook is a person before he is a problem. Nobody moved at first. Then the nurse, who had been standing with both hands around the wheelchair handle, stepped forward. The patient needs to be moved for evaluation. Director Kang stared at her. Excuse me? She swallowed, but her voice stayed firm. His pulse is elevated. He needs a quieter area. I'm taking him to imaging. Jin understood instantly. I'll come as guardian. RM glanced at Suga. Suga understood too. Imaging was not the destination. It was the excuse. A medical route through the hospital would bypass the public corridor. Director Kang's eyes sharpened. You think I don't see what you're doing? The nurse looked frightened, but she did not step back. I'm doing my job. For the first time, someone outside the members had chosen a side. Jimin looked up at her, and his voice softened. Thank you. She did not answer, but her hands tightened on the chair. Director Kang moved to block them. No. RM stepped between him and the wheelchair. You don't get to say no to medical staff. The director's phone rang again, and this time he looked truly furious. The timing was slipping away from him. Jungkook's post was spreading. The company statement was delayed. The members were no longer waiting. And somewhere out there, Jungkook was moving toward the only evidence that could destroy the lie. Director Kang pointed at RM. If you walk out now, you are choosing him over the group. RM's face did not change. Jungkook is the group. Then he pushed past him.
The hospital service corridor smelled like disinfectant, old coffee, and rainwater dragged in from the staff entrance. The lighting was dimmer there, less polished than the private wing, and every sound echoed. The wheels of Jimin's chair, Jin's footsteps, J-Hope's uneven breathing. RM's phone vibrating again and again in his hand. They moved fast, but not carelessly. The nurse led them through a route only hospital staff knew, past storage rooms, a closed radiology desk, and a back elevator that opened with a slow metallic groan. Jimin kept Jungkook's letter flat against his lap, pressing it down with one hand like he was afraid it might disappear too. Taeyong walked beside him now, not too close, not too far, still carrying the weight of what he had confessed. Suga had gone ahead with RM's driver contact, heading toward the old practice building from a side exit. RM stayed with Jimin because if the company came again, someone had to block them with more than anger. Jin argued quietly with the doctor by phone, forcing him to put every medical fact in writing. J-Hope kept watching Jimin's face, searching for signs that he was about to collapse again. Stop looking at me like that, Jimin said without turning. J-Hope blinked. Like what? Like I'm glass. J-Hope's mouth tightened. You scared me. Jimin's face softened for a second, then hardened again. I scared myself too. That honesty sat between them, no dramatic apology. No clean comfort, just the truth, small and heavy. Arm ended another call and crouched slightly beside the wheelchair as they waited for the elevator. The official statement is paused. Jimin looked at him. Repaused isn't stopped. It's the best I can do from inside a hospital corridor. Then do better when we get out. Ram nodded. He did not defend himself. That mattered. The elevator opened and the nurse rolled Jimin inside. Taeyong stepped in last, but before the doors closed, someone shouted from the end of the hallway, "Wait!" Everyone turned. The young manager from earlier ran toward them, face sweaty, tablet clutched to his chest. RM stepped forward defensively. "What?" The manager looked terrified. "I'm not here to stop you." He held out the tablet. "You need this." Jin frowned. "What is it?" "Access log from the rehearsal building. Someone used a staff card 10 minutes ago." Jimin's pulse jumped. "JUNGKOOK?" The manager shook his head. "Director Kang's assistant." Taeyong went pale. RM took the tablet. "Why are you helping us?" The manager swallowed. His eyes flicked to Jimin, then down. "Because I was there when the medic said stop." "Silence!" Jimin stared at him. The manager's voice cracked. "I didn't say anything. I told myself it wasn't my place. I told myself senior staff knew better. Then JUNGKOOK screamed at all of us and I thought he was overreacting. But when you fell, I knew he wasn't." His eyes filled. "But he did not let the tears fall. I can't fix that, but I can send you the logs." Jimin's face moved, not quite forgiveness, not quite anger. "Then send them to RM, and if anyone asks," the manager took a breath, "I'll say I did it." RM stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. Send every did. The elevator doors closed, cutting off the hallway behind them. Inside the small metal box, no one spoke until the elevator started moving. Then Jimin whispered, "That's the rule, isn't it?" Jin looked down. "What rule?" "Everyone waits for someone braver to speak first." Taeyong flinched. Jimin did not say it to hurt him, but it hurt anyway. RM watched the numbers change above the doors. Tonight that rule ends. The elevator opened into a staff parking level. Cold air hit them first. Then distant noise. Reporters at the front of the hospital were still shouting beyond the outer barricades, their voices blurred by concrete and rain. The nurse stopped at the doorway. "I can't go farther." Jimin looked back at her. "You already did enough." She glanced around, then bent down quickly and adjusted the blanket over his hospital clothes. "Your IV line should not be outside this building." Jin said, "We know." She looked at him like she doubted that. Then she handed J-Hope a small plastic bag. "Emergency gauze. Tape. If the line pulls, press here and get him back inside." J-Hope took it with both hands. The nurse looked at Jimin one last time. "Don't try to be strong longer than your body can handle." Jimin gave a faint, tired smile. "Someone told me that too late." Her eyes softened. Then she turned and disappeared back into the elevator. A black van waited near the far exit with hazard lights blinking. Suga was not there. He had already gone to the practice building. The driver lowered the window. "We need to move now." RM helped Jin lift Jimin carefully from the wheelchair into the van. The pain hit harder this time. Jimin sucked in a breath and gripped Jin's sleeve so tightly Jin's face twisted. "Sorry," Jimin whispered. Jin shook his head. "Don't apologize. Just breathe." Taeyong folded the wheelchair and shoved it into the back. J-Hope climbed in beside Jimin, holding the emergency bag like it was a weapon. RM got in front, still on his phone. The van pulled out through the staff exit, headlights cutting across the wet pavement. For a few seconds, they were free of the hospital. Then RM looked back. "We have another problem." Jimin's eyes stayed open even though exhaustion was pressing hard against him. "What now?" RM held up his phone. "Legal just sent a notice to all members. No public comments, no contact with JUNGKOOK, no movement without security. They're calling it a safety protocol." Jin let out a cold laugh. "Safety for whom?" J-Hope read over RM's shoulder. "They're threatening suspension of individual activities." Taeyong's face tightened. "They're using our schedules as leashes." Jimin looked out the window. Rain slid down the glass, turning the city lights into long broken lines. "Then we cut the leash." RM looked at him through the rearview mirror. "That's not a small thing to say." "I know. Once we break from them publicly, there may be no going back." Jimin turned his head slowly. "Young JUNGKOOK is alone because he thought protecting us meant disappearing. If we follow the rules now, we prove him right." Nobody answered. The van moved through a side street, away from the hospital and toward the older district, where their first practice building still stood between redevelopment sites and shuttered. Studios the building had not been used often in years, but it remained part storage space, part memory. Too many mirrors, too many late nights. Too many versions of themselves left behind in sweat and dust, Suga called. "Put him on speaker." "Talk." Suga's voice came through low and tense. "I'm 2 minutes out. There are 2 company cars outside the building." Expression darkened. "Director Kang's people?" "Probably. I don't see JUNGKOOK." Jimin leaned forward. J-Hope immediately put a hand near his shoulder but did not touch. "Check the back entrance," Jimin said. Suga paused. "Jimin? He won't use the front. He knows they're watching." Suga's voice softened for half a second. You should be in bed, and you should be less predictable. Suga gave a humorless breath that almost sounded like a laugh. Fair. Then his voice went serious again. If JUNGKOOK is inside, he's not answering me. Taeyong closed his eyes. He thinks we might stop him. Jimin's throat tightened. No, he thinks he doesn't deserve help. The sentence made the van feel smaller. RM gripped the phone. Yonggi? Don't engage if security is already inside. Wait for us, Suga answered. I'm not waiting if they find him first. The call cut. Jin swore softly. J-Hope looked between them. We're all losing our minds. Jimin looked down at the letter again, his thumb brushing JUNGKOOK's handwriting. No, we're finally using them. The van turned the corner toward the old practice building. Blue-white lights reflected on the wet road. 2 company cars were parked by the side entrance. A third car had just arrived. Men in dark jackets were moving toward the door. And across the street, under a broken awning, Suga stood in a black cap, staring at the building like a hunter who had found the trap before the prey did. Then Jimin saw it, a shadow moving behind the second-floor window. Broad shoulders, dark hoodie, one hand pressed to the glass for balance. JUNGKOOK. Jimin's breath caught. Stop the car. The driver hit the brake so hard J-Hope had to grab Jimin's shoulder to keep him from lurching forward. Pain shot through Jimin's body, sharp enough to make his vision go white for a second, but he did not make a sound. He kept his eyes locked on the second-floor window. The shadow was gone now, swallowed by darkness inside the old practice building, but Jimin knew what he had seen. He knew the line of those shoulders better than he knew his own reflection. He's inside, Jimin said. RM turned in his seat. Are you sure? Jimin looked at him. Don't ask me that. RM did not ask again. Outside, Suga crossed the street fast, keeping low as 2 company security staff approached the side entrance. The old building looked smaller than it used to, uglier under the rain, its sign half-lit, its walls stained by time and neglect. But to Jimin, it felt alive with every memory they had buried there. JUNGKOOK at 15, nervous and stubborn. JUNGKOOK staying late after everyone left. JUNGKOOK pretending he was not tired. JUNGKOOK watching Jimin through the mirror, learning without admitting he was learning. And now JUNGKOOK was back in that same building, hunted by the people who once sold the story of their brotherhood. Jin opened the sliding door. Cold rain rushed in. We need a plan. Jimin tried to move. J-Hope stopped him with one look. No, I saw him. And if you collapse again before reaching the stairs, what then? Jimin's face tightened. Don't use my body against me. J-Hope's voice broke. I'm trying to keep it from betraying you. That stopped Jimin. Not because he agreed, but because he heard the fear under it. Ram got out first and moved around the van. Taeyong followed, pulling his hood up. Jin crouched in front of Jimin. Listen to me. I know you want to run to him, but JUNGKOOK is already scared enough. If he sees you bleeding through an IV and shaking in the rain, he'll blame himself again. Do you understand? Jimin closed his eyes. The truth was cruel because it was useful. If JUNGKOOK saw him like this, he might retreat deeper, might give himself up, might do something reckless just to end Jimin's suffering faster. Jimin opened his eyes. Then bring him to me. Jin nodded. We will. Jimin looked at Taeyong, who stood at van door, waiting. Taeyong turned. You know what you have to say. Taeyong swallowed hard. I know. Taeyong nodded again, then stepped out into the rain, arm crossed to Suga, who was watching the side entrance from behind a parked car. Status? Suga kept his voice low. 3 security outside, at least 2 inside. They entered with access cards. No police yet. Director Kang? Not here. Suga's eyes shifted toward the second floor. But his assistant is. RM looked up. JUNGKOOK? I haven't seen him since the window. Taeyong joined them, rain already wetting his hair. He'll go to Studio B. Suga glanced at him. Why? That's where he left the jacket during rehearsal. RM frowned. How do you know? Taeyong's face tightened. Because I watched him throw it on the chair before everything went bad. Suga looked like he wanted to say something harsh, but he swallowed it. There was no time to punish each other. The punishment was already happening. RM made the call. Yoongi, you take the back stairs, Tae. You come with me through the side entrance. Jin stays with Jimin. Hobie watches the street and calls if Director Kang arrives. J-Hope, still inside the van, nodded even though his face was tense. And if security stops you, Tom's expression was flat. They can try. Across the entrance, one of the company's security men noticed them. His posture changed, and he spoke into his radio. Suga moved immediately, slipping toward the rear alley before they could block him. And Taeyong walked straight toward the side entrance. Not running. Running looked guilty. Walking looked like they belonged there because for years they had. The security guard stepped forward. You can't enter. RM did not slow down. Move orders from Director Kang. RM stopped inches from him. I don't work for Director Kang. The guard hesitated. He had probably blocked fans, reporters, sasangs, strangers, but blocking RM outside a BTS practice building was different. Taeyong stepped beside RM, voice quiet but sharp. JUNGKOOK is inside. The guard's expression flickered. We're handling it. Taeyong's face darkened. That's what scares me. The guard reached for his radio again. RM took one step closer. You can radio whoever you want, but if JUNGKOOK gets hurt while you are stopping us, your name becomes part of the report I give myself. The guard stared at him. Behind RM's calm voice was something harder than anger, consequence. The guard stepped aside, not because he agreed, but because he did not want to be the first person named when the truth came out. RM and Taehyung entered. The old lobby was dark except for emergency lights and the glow from a vending machine near the wall. The air smelled like dust, rubber flooring, and old sweat trapped inside the walls. Taehyung's chest tightened. For a second, he was not in the present. He was years younger, laughing with JUNGKOOK after midnight, collapsing on the floor after practice, stealing snacks, promising each other they would survive everything together. Then he remembered the parking lot, his own voice telling JUNGKOOK to disappear. He nearly stopped walking, noticed, not now. Taehyung nodded and forced himself forward. Upstairs, a door slammed. Then a man shouted, "Search the storage room." RM and Taehyung moved faster. At the back, Suga slipped through the stairwell and texted one word to RM's studio. RM turned toward the stairs. He found something. They reached the second floor just as two security staff came out of Studio A. One saw them and froze. "You're not supposed to," did not stop. "Neither are you." Taehyung pushed past him and ran toward Studio B. His shoes slipped slightly on the wet marks left by others, but he kept going. The door to Studio B was half open. Inside, the lights were off. Mirrors lined one wall, catching broken strips of hallway light. A chair sat near the corner, empty, no jacket, no in-ear case. Taehyung's stomach dropped. Suga stood near the chair, breathing hard. "Too late," he said. RM entered behind him. "They took it?" Suga held up a black in-ear case. Taehyung's eyes widened the case. Suga opened it, empty. The silence that followed was brutal. Taehyung stepped back like someone had struck him. R took the case and checked it himself. Nothing, no earpieces, no card, no hidden slot, just emptiness. Suga's face was stone. Someone got here first. A noise came from the hallway, footsteps fast, then a familiar voice, breathless and furious. "Give it back." All three turned. JUNGKOOK stood at the far end of the hallway, drenched from rain, hoodie clinging to his shoulders, eyes wild with exhaustion. His face was pale, lips slightly blue from cold, one hand gripping the wall like he needed it to stay upright. In his other hand was a phone with a cracked screen. He looked at RM, then Suga, then Taehyung, and something hurt flashed across his face. "You shouldn't be here," JUNGKOOK said. Taehyung took one step forward. "JUNGKOOK, don't!" The word cut him open. JUNGKOOK's eyes were fixed on the empty case in RM's hand. "Where is it?" RM kept his voice calm. "We just got here. It was already empty." JUNGKOOK laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Of course." Suga moved closer. "Do you have another copy?" JUNGKOOK's silence answered too much. RM's chest tightened. JUNGKOOK backed up. "You brought him?" Taehyung froze. "Who?" JUNGKOOK's eyes burned. "JIMIN." RM did not answer quickly enough. JUNGKOOK's face changed completely. Panic broke through the anger. "Is he here?" Suga said, "In the van." "Why would you bring him here?" JUNGKOOK shouted, and the sound cracked against the hallway walls. "He should be in the hospital." Taehyung stepped closer, tears already rising. "He came because of you." JUNGKOOK looked at him and his voice turned cold. "Don't say that like it's a good thing." Taehyung stopped. JUNGKOOK's jaw trembled. He almost died because everyone kept telling him to be strong. "And now you let him leave a hospital bed?" Ram said he made the choice. JUNGKOOK's laugh broke. "You all love saying that when you want to stop feeling guilty." That hit RM hard. Suga looked down. Taehyung looked like he could barely stand. JUNGKOOK turned toward the stairs. "I have to go." RM moved to block him. "Move." "Hyung, not until you tell us where the recording is." JUNGKOOK stepped closer. "You lost it. We found an empty case. That doesn't mean it's gone. It's gone enough." JUNGKOOK. RM's voice softened. For one second, JUNGKOOK's face cracked. Under the anger, under the fear, there was a tired boy who had been carrying too much for too long. Then he shut it down. "Help," he whispered. "Where was help when they pushed me away from his room?" Taehyung's breath broke. "I'm sorry." JUNGKOOK did not look at him. "Not now. Please." "Not now." Taehyung flinched at the nickname because it sounded more painful than his full name. From downstairs, J-Hope's voice suddenly echoed through RM's phone. "Director Kang is here." Everyone froze. JUNGKOOK's eyes went to the stairwell. "Then I'm leaving." Suga grabbed his arm. JUNGKOOK jerked back. "Don't." Suga released him immediately. "Palms up." "I'm not your enemy." JUNGKOOK's eyes flashed. "Then stop blocking the door." RM looked at him, then toward the stairwell. "If you run now, they'll chase you. If you stay with us, they have witnesses." JUNGKOOK shook his head. Witnesses didn't save Jimin. That sentence landed like a verdict. Then a voice came from the stairs below. Director Kang, calm and near. "JUNGKOOK, see this ends now." JUNGKOOK's face became still, too still. RM saw it and felt fear climb his spine. JUNGKOOK was not preparing to fight. He was preparing to surrender something. Maybe himself. Maybe the only copy. Maybe his name. JUNGKOOK looked past them toward the window at the end of the hallway. "Tell Jimin I'm sorry." Taehyung's eyes widened. No, Jungkook stepped back. Tell him not to follow me. Then he turned and ran.
JUNGKOOK ran toward the fire escape at the end of the hallway, and for one terrible second, nobody moved fast enough. It was not because they did not want to stop him. It was because all of them understood, in the same instant, that JUNGKOOK had been planning escape routes before they even arrived. The building had been his memory first, his shelter second, and now his battlefield. Suga moved first. JUNGKOOK! He sprinted after him, shoes slamming against the old floor. RM followed, shouting into the phone, "Ho by back alley now." Taehyung ran too, breath tearing through his chest, but JUNGKOOK was faster, even exhausted, even soaked, even broken open by fear. At the stairwell, Director Kang appeared with 2 security staff. He saw JUNGKOOK running and shouted, "Stop him!" That was the wrong command. RM turned on him instantly. "Call them off." Director Kang's face was hard. "He has company property. He has evidence. Same thing tonight." That sentence told RM everything. The recording was not only real, it was dangerous enough that Director Kang had stopped pretending. Suga reached the fire escape door just as JUNGKOOK shoved it open. Rain and cold air blasted into the hallway. JUNGKOOK disappeared down the metal stairs outside. Suga slammed through after him. Taehyung stopped at the doorway long enough to look back at RM. "Go, I'll follow him." RM nodded and turned to block the security staff, buying seconds the only way he could. "You touch him, and this becomes physical restraint against an artist under medical crisis." The guards hesitated. Director Kang snapped, "Move." RM stepped directly into their path. "Try." Down in the alley, J-Hope had already jumped out of the van. Jin stayed with Jimin, but Jimin had seen enough through the rain-streaked window to know something had gone wrong. "Open the door," Jimin said. Jin shook his head. "No, Jin, no," Jimin's voice cracked. "He's running." Jin leaned closer, both hands on Jimin's shoulders now, not gentle enough to be comforting, not rough enough to hurt. "And if you run after him, he'll keep running until his body gives out. Let us catch him." Jimin stared at him, breathing hard, tears gathering again from helpless rage. Outside, JUNGKOOK hit the bottom of the fire escape and stumbled. Suga was only a few steps behind him. J-Hope came from the alley entrance, blocking the path to the street. JUNGKOOK stopped between them, chest heaving, rain pouring over his face. For a moment he looked trapped. Then he laughed once, empty and devastated. "Don't do this." J-Hope raised his hands. "We're not here to trap you." "Then move." Suga stepped closer slowly. "No." JUNGKOOK's eyes flicked to the van. Even through the tinted window, he knew. Jimin was there, his face twisted with pain. "Why did you bring him?" J-Hope's voice shook. "Because he woke up asking for you." JUNGKOOK closed his eyes like the words physically hurt. "Don't." He read the letter. JUNGKOOK opened his eyes and panic flashed through them. "He shouldn't have." Suga's voice was quiet. "You wrote it for him. I wrote it in case I didn't get a choice. You have a choice now." JUNGKOOK looked toward the street where headlights passed beyond the alley mouth. "No, I don't." Taehyung came down the fire escape behind him, stopping on the last step. "You do." JUNGKOOK did not turn around. "I said not now." Taehyung's face crumpled, but he forced the words out. "Then hate me after, but listen first." JUNGKOOK's shoulders tightened. "I don't hate you." Taehyung almost broke at that. "You should." JUNGKOOK finally turned, rain dripping from his lashes. "You think I have room for that tonight?" Taehyung stepped off the stairs slowly. "I told you to disappear." JUNGKOOK looked away. "I remember. I said if you loved him, you would leave. I remember. I was wrong." JUNGKOOK's jaw moved, but he said nothing. Taehyung's voice shook harder. "I was jealous. I was scared. I saw how far you were willing to go for him, and instead of standing beside you, I made you feel like your love was the problem." JUNGKOOK stared at the wet ground. J-Hope wiped his face with one sleeve, crying silently. Suga looked away, giving them whatever privacy an alley in a crisis could offer. Taehyung stepped closer. "But Jimin is awake now, and he knows. He knows you fought for him. He knows you didn't leave because you wanted to. He knows I failed you." JUNGKOOK's face broke just slightly at Jimin's name. "He shouldn't be here," he whispered. "Maybe not," Taehyung said, "but he is, and if you disappear again, you'll hurt him more than the scandal ever could." JUNGKOOK's eyes lifted, raw and furious. "You don't get to tell me what hurts him." Taehyung accepted that hit. "You're right. You don't get to stand there and ask me to trust you after what you said." "I know." "Then what are you asking?" Taehyung wiped rain and tears from his face. "I'm asking you to stop punishing yourself for everyone else's silence." JUNGKOOK looked like he had been stabbed. For 1 second, the alley went quiet except for the rain. Then Director Kang's voice came from above. "JUNGKOOK SSI, hand over the device." JUNGKOOK's expression changed. The softness vanished. Suga noticed immediately. "What device?" JUNGKOOK looked at him. The one they think I still have. J-Hope frowned. You do. JUNGKOOK reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out something small and black, a micro recorder, not an in-ear case. He held it up between two fingers. Everyone stared. This is what they're chasing, JUNGKOOK said. Taehyung whispered, then the case was a decoy. JUNGKOOK's mouth twitched without humor. I learned from Hayoungs who survive by hiding things in plain sight. Suga's eyes sharpened. Does it have the recording? JUNGKOOK looked toward the van again, toward Jimin. Yes. The word changed everything. The evidence was not gone. It was in JUNGKOOK's hand. Director Kang appeared at the bottom of the fire escape with RM behind him, both breathing hard. Two security staff blocked the upper steps, unsure whether to come down. Director Kang saw the recorder and his face lost all warmth. That belongs to the company. JUNGKOOK looked at him. No, my voice is on it. Jimin's collapse is on it. Your order is on it. That makes it ours. Director Kang extended his hand. Give it to me and we can still protect you. JUNGKOOK laughed softly. You keep using that word. Because you clearly need protection from yourself. JUNGKOOK stepped forward. I needed protection from you. Jimin heard that from inside the van, not clearly, not every word, but enough. He pushed against Jin's hands. Open the door. Jin's face tightened. Jimin, open it. This time, Jin saw something in his eyes and knew the decision had already been made. He opened the sliding door. Rain rushed in. Jimin gripped the doorframe, trembling as he pulled himself forward. J-Hope turned and saw him. Jimin, no! JUNGKOOK's head snapped toward the van. The moment he saw Jimin trying to step out, everything in him shattered. Stop! He shouted, voice breaking. Don't move! Jimin froze halfway down, one hand on Jin, one hand pressed to his ribs. His hospital clothes were thin, his face pale, his IV taped badly under his sleeve, but his eyes were locked on JUNGKOOK. For the first time since waking, they were looking at each other. Not through rumors, not through letters, not through other people's guilt, directly. The alley went still around them, even Director Kang did not speak. JUNGKOOK stared at Jimin like seeing him upright hurt more than any accusation. Why did you come? He whispered. Jimin's voice was weak but clear. Because you left. JUNGKOOK flinched. I was trying to protect you. I know. Then why are you standing in the rain? Jimin took one painful breath. Because protection that makes me lose you isn't protection. JUNGKOOK's eyes filled instantly, but he looked away before the tears could fall. You should hate me. Jimin almost laughed, but it came out broken. For what? Fighting for me? For making it worse? You didn't. Look around, Jimin. JUNGKOOK's voice cracked as he gestured at the alley, the guards, the phones, the rain, the van, the whole ugly night. This is worse. Jimin looked at him with such tired sadness that JUNGKOOK could not hold his gaze. No, Jimin said. Worse was waking up and thinking you abandoned me. The words hit JUNGKOOK harder than anything Director Kang had said. His face crumpled. I didn't. I know now. I tried to get to you. I know. They wouldn't let me. I know. I was scared you wouldn't wake up. His voice finally broke. I was so scared. Jimin's tears fell then, silent and immediate. Jin held him steady from behind. J-Hope covered his mouth. RM looked down. Suga's jaw tightened. Taehyung cried openly. Director Kang shifted, realizing the emotional center of the room had moved beyond his control. This reunion is touching. He said coldly, but it changes nothing. JUNGKOOK has illegally recorded internal company operations. RM turned on him. You forced an injured artist to continue after medical warning. Allegedly. JUNGKOOK held up the recorder. Not allegedly. Director Kang's eyes stayed on the device. Release that and you destroy more than me. Staff, contracts, partners, people who had nothing to do with tonight. JUNGKOOK's hand trembled. That was the trap, not fear for himself. Fear for collateral damage. Jimin saw it instantly. Director Kang continued, voice softer now, poisonous because it sounded reasonable. You want to be righteous, fine, but righteousness has victims too. Can you live with that? JUNGKOOK's fingers tightened around the recorder. His face twisted with conflict. Jimin knew that look. The look of someone ready to let himself be the only victim because it seemed cleaner. JUNGKOOK, Jimin said. JUNGKOOK looked at him. Jimin took a breath. Don't decide alone. JUNGKOOK's eyes shook. I don't want you dragged into this. Too late. Jimin, too late, Jimin repeated, stronger. They used my name, they used your fear, they used our silence, so no more decisions alone. JUNGKOOK stared at him, rain running down his face like tears even before the real ones fell. Director Kang stepped forward. Last chance, hand it over. JUNGKOOK looked at him, then at RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Taehyung, and finally Jimin. His hand lowered slightly. For one terrifying second, Jimin thought he might give up the recorder just to stop everyone from hurting. Then JUNGKOOK did something else. He walked toward Jimin. slowly, carefully, like approaching him too fast might break them both. Jin tensed but did not stop him. JUNGKOOK stopped just an arm's length away, holding the recorder between them. His voice was quiet. "If I give this to you, you decide what happens next." JIMIN looked at the device, then at JUNGKOOK. "No." JUNGKOOK's face fell. "No." JIMIN reached out with a shaking hand and closed JUNGKOOK's fingers back around it. "We decide." JUNGKOOK stared at their hands. JIMIN's hand was cold. JUNGKOOK was colder. But for the first time that night, neither let go. RM stepped beside them. Then Jin. Then Suga. Then J-Hope. Then Taehyung, last, ashamed but present. Director Kang looked at the 6 figures forming a wall around JIMIN and JUNGKOOK, and his expression changed into something dangerous again. "You think standing together makes you untouchable?" Suga looked at him. "No." RM lifted his phone. "But it makes us witnesses." Director Kang's eyes narrowed. RM turned the screen toward him. A recording app was running. It had been recording since the alley. Director Kang's face went pale for 1 second too long. JIMIN saw it. JUNGKOOK saw it. Everyone saw it. Then from JUNGKOOK's cracked phone, a notification sounded. One after another, hundreds, thousands. He looked down, confused. His face changed. "What?" JIMIN asked. JUNGKOOK looked up slowly. "The black screen post is gone." Director Kang smiled faintly. "Good." But JUNGKOOK kept reading and his eyes widened for a different reason. "No," he whispered. "It's not gone." Suga stepped closer. "What happened?" JUNGKOOK turned the screen toward them. Someone had reposted the black screen with an added file attached, not the hallway clip, not the parking lot clip. A full audio file already spreading under JUNGKOOK's name. The caption read, "Since everyone wants context, here is the first minute." JIMIN's blood went cold. RM stared at the screen. Jin whispered, "Who uploaded it?" JUNGKOOK looked completely shaken. "I didn't." Taehyung's face drained. "Then who has the recording?" Before anyone could answer, the audio began playing from a nearby staff member's phone, loud enough for the entire alley to hear. Director Kang's own voice came through the rain, clear and unmistakable. 5 more takes. "The fever is not visible on camera." Jimin's knees almost gave out. JUNGKOOK grabbed him instantly. Director Kang turned toward the sound, horror breaking across his face. And in that moment, every rule changed. The first minute of the audio spread faster than anyone in that alley could breathe. Phones rang from inside coats. Staff members stared at their screens. Security guards stopped listening to Director Kang and started listening to the voice coming out of their own devices. 5 more takes. The fever is not visible on camera." The sentence repeated from one phone, then another, like the building itself was finally saying what it had swallowed all night. Jimin stood half-supported by Jin, his legs weak, his hospital clothes damp from the rain, his face drained of color. JUNGKOOK's arms stayed locked around him, not possessive, not dramatic, just terrified that if he loosened his hold even slightly, Jimin would fall again. Director Kang looked at every phone in the alley, then at JUNGKOOK, then at the recorder in JUNGKOOK's hand. For the first time, his face showed fear without a mask. "Turn that off," he ordered. Nobody moved. Even the guards looked unsure now. RM's phone was still recording. Suga noticed and stepped closer to block anyone from grabbing it. J-Hope stared at JUNGKOOK's screen, eyes wide. "If you didn't upload it, who did?" JUNGKOOK shook his head, still frozen. "I don't know." Taehyung wiped rain from his face, breathing hard. But the file came from somewhere. Director Kang recovered just enough to point at JUNGKOOK. "This is exactly what I warned you about. You think this makes you look innocent. You just released private company material during a medical crisis." JUNGKOOK's jaw tightened. "I told you I didn't release it." "Convenient." Jimin lifted his head slowly. "Stop." His voice was weak, but it cut through the rain. Director Kang looked at him. "Jimin SSI, step away from him." JUNGKOOK's hold tightened, but Jimin did not step away. He looked Director Kang directly in the eyes. "You don't get to tell me where to stand." A silence fell. It was short, but it mattered. Because Jimin was not speaking as someone being protected anymore. He was speaking as the person they had tried to use. Director Kang's expression hardened. "Then understand what happens next. That audio can be challenged, edited, misunderstood, taken out of context." Suga let out a cold breath. "Funny how context only matters when it hurts you." Director Kang ignored him. "If JUNGKOOK is behind this, legal will come for him." JUNGKOOK looked exhausted, but he did not lower his eyes. "Let them." Jimin turned sharply. "No." JUNGKOOK looked at him. "Jimin, no more saying let them like your life is something people can just destroy and you'll accept it." JUNGKOOK's face shifted, hurt and stunned. Jimin's voice shook, but he kept going. You don't get to disappear. You don't get to take the blame. You don't get to hand me your pain and call it protection. JUNGKOOK swallowed hard. I was trying to keep you out of it. I was already in it. You were unconscious. And you were alone. That shut him down completely. JUNGKOOK looked away, but Jimin reached up with a trembling hand and grabbed the front of his wet hoodie. The movement cost him. Pain flashed across his face, and JUNGKOOK immediately leaned closer. Don't strain yourself. Jimin's eyes filled with tears. Then stop making me chase you. The words hit so deep that JUNGKOOK's breath broke. For a second, the entire scandal, the leaked audio, the company threats, the cold rain, all of it narrowed into that one sentence between them. Stop making me chase you. Taehyung looked away, crying quietly. RM's expression softened, but only for a second. His phone buzzed again and reality snapped back. The company just released a counter-statement. Everyone turned to him. RM read silently first, and his face went cold. Jin asked, "What does it say?" RM looked up. "They're claiming the audio is incomplete and possibly manipulated." J-Hope cursed under his breath. Suga reached for his own phone. "Of course they are." RM kept reading. "They say JUNGKOOK is currently under emotional distress and may have acted without full awareness of consequences." JUNGKOOK's face went blank. Jimin felt the change in him immediately. It was not anger first. It was humiliation. They were not just calling him dangerous now. They were calling him unstable. They were turning his fear for Jimin into a weakness the public could debate. Jimin's hand tightened in JUNGKOOK's hoodie. "No." Director Kang's phone rang. He answered without taking his eyes off them. Yes, I saw it. Push the mental distress angle carefully. No, don't say medical, say emotional volatility." RM's expression darkened. He lifted his phone slightly, making sure it was still recording. Director Kang noticed too late. His face changed. RM said quietly, "Say that again." Director Kang ended the call instantly. Suga smiled without warmth. Too late. But Director Kang was not finished. Pointed toward JUNGKOOK's phone. "That leak has made all of you vulnerable. I suggest you return to the hospital before this becomes something none of you can survive." Jimin looked past him toward the old practice building. The second-floor windows were dark now, but they felt like eyes. "Who else knew about the recording?" he asked. JUNGKOOK blinked. "What?" Jimin turned back to him. "You said you didn't upload it. The recorder is still in your hand. The in-ear case was empty, so who else had access?" JUNGKOOK's face tightened. He looked at Taehyung, not accusing, remembering. Taehyung straightened. "What?" JUNGKOOK's voice was careful. "When I gave you the letter, did anyone see?" "No." "Did you tell anyone?" "No." "Did you touch my jacket?" Taehyung's face fell. "No, I swear." JUNGKOOK nodded once, accepting it. Then his eyes moved to RM. "The original recording was on this device, but I made one backup." RM's brow furrowed. "Where?" JUNGKOOK hesitated, and that hesitation made everyone tense. Min felt it. "JUNGKOOK." JUNGKOOK looked at him, guilt already forming in his eyes. "Your phone." Jimin froze. "My phone? Before rehearsal got bad, I borrowed your phone." Jimin searched his memory. He saw it faintly. JUNGKOOK smiling too casually, asking to check a message because his phone battery was low. Jimin had handed it over without thinking. JUNGKOOK continued, voice low. "I knew they might take mine if I pushed too hard, so I sent a copy to your drafts, not posted, not sent, just saved." Jimin's mouth parted. "Management took my phone." "I know." RM's eyes widened slightly. "So the backup was in Jimin's phone when they confiscated it." Suga looked toward Director Kang. "And someone opened it." Director Kang's face was unreadable again, but his silence was too controlled. J-Hope whispered, "Then the leak came from inside management." The twist landed heavier than the rain. JUNGKOOK had not leaked the first minute. Someone inside the company had taken Jimin's phone, found the backup, and released the audio under JUNGKOOK's name. Not to save JUNGKOOK, not to save Jimin, to create chaos, to make JUNGKOOK look guilty for the leak before the full truth could be controlled. Jimin's stomach turned. "Where is my phone?" he asked. Director Kang did not answer. Jimin's voice sharpened. "Where is it?" Director Kang's calm returned, but the edges were frayed now. "In secure custody." "Whose custody?" "Company property handling." "My phone is not company property. During crisis response, personal devices connected to sensitive material may be held temporarily." Jin stepped forward. "That is theft." Director Kang looked at him. "Call it what you want." JUNGKOOK's expression darkened. "You found the backup." Director Kang's eyes stayed still. "I found a problem. And you leaked it. I contained it." Suga laughed, sharp and ugly. "By putting it online." Director Kang's voice dropped. "Making the leak look reckless instead of strategic." RM stared at him. You wanted the public to believe JUNGKOOK released a partial clip while emotionally unstable. Director Kang said nothing. JIMIN whispered, so even the truth was turned into a weapon against him. JUNGKOOK looked at JIMIN and saw something breaking in his face again, not weakness, rage mixed with grief. He touched JIMIN's shoulder gently. Don't. JIMIN looked at him. Don't what? Don't take this into your body. You'll crash. JIMIN almost smiled through tears. You're still telling me to rest while your whole life is being framed. JUNGKOOK's voice softened. Yes, that was him, that was always him. Cold to the world when afraid, gentle to JIMIN even while drowning. Director Kang took one step backward, phone in hand. RM noticed. Where are you going? To fix what can still be fixed. Suga moved. No. The security guard stepped between them. The alley tightened again. Then another phone notification sounded. This time it was Taehyung's. He looked down, confused, then went completely still. JIMIN saw his face. Taehyung did not answer. JUNGKOOK looked at him. What is it? Taehyung lifted his phone slowly. It's from your account. JUNGKOOK frowned. My account. Taehyung nodded, eyes wide with horror. A new post. RM stepped closer. What does it say? Taehyung swallowed. It says, JIMIN asked me to keep quiet, I won't anymore. JIMIN's face went white. JUNGKOOK snatched the phone from Taehyung's hand and stared at the screen. His breathing stopped. I didn't post this. Director Kang's expression changed into something almost satisfied. Then maybe someone is finally telling the whole truth. JUNGKOOK looked up slowly, eyes blazing. Who has my account? Director Kang smiled faintly. Maybe the better question is who has JIMIN's phone. The post sat on Taehyung's screen like a bomb that had already gone off. JIMIN asked me to keep quiet, I won't anymore. It was short enough to spread instantly and vague enough to hurt everyone. It made JIMIN look guilty. It made JUNGKOOK look betrayed. It made their silence look like a secret agreement instead of fear, exhaustion, and pressure. JIMIN stared at the words until they blurred. I never asked you to keep quiet, he whispered. JUNGKOOK looked at him immediately. I know. Said it so fast, so certain that JIMIN almost broke again. JUNGKOOK did not doubt him, not for a second. That certainty gave JIMIN strength and pain at the same time. Director Kang folded his arms. The public will not be that generous. RM stepped forward. You're done. The director tilted his head. Am I? You used their devices, leaked partial evidence, and framed a member. You have accusations. I have a crisis to manage. No, Suga said. You have a crime scene with better lighting. Director Kang's eyes flicked toward the recorder in JUNGKOOK's hand, then toward RM's phone. He was calculating again. How much had been recorded? How much could be denied? Who could still be isolated? JIMIN saw the calculation and hated how familiar it looked. It was the same look people used when they did not see humans, only risk. JUNGKOOK stepped toward him. Give us the phones. Director Kang laughed softly. You are in no position to demand anything. JUNGKOOK's voice went flat. Try me. JIMIN gripped his sleeve. Kook. JUNGKOOK stopped, but his eyes did not leave the director. JIMIN hated that he had to pull him back. He hated that the world had made JUNGKOOK's anger dangerous when it was the only honest thing in the alley. RM said, we need to move now before more posts go out. Jin looked at JIMIN's face. Back to the hospital. JIMIN shook his head. No, Jin's jaw tightened. JIMIN, if I go back there, they control the room, the staff, the statements, everything. You need medical care. Then bring the doctor somewhere else. Jin stared at him, then looked at RM. RM nodded once, already understanding. Safe house. Suga glanced at him. Whose? RM's eyes moved to Jin. Jin blinked. My place. You have the least company traffic and the best security setup. Jin exhaled sharply. Fine, but if he bleeds, I'm blaming all of you. J-Hope raised his hand slightly. I'll go with JIMIN. Taehyung said, I'm coming too. JUNGKOOK immediately shook his head. No, Taehyung flinched. JUNGKOOK, no, JUNGKOOK repeated. You already said enough tonight. The words were cold, but the hurt underneath was worse. Taehyung lowered his eyes. JIMIN looked between them. He comes. JUNGKOOK turned to him, wounded. Why? Because if we leave him alone with guilt, he'll do something stupid. Taehyung swallowed hard. JUNGKOOK stared at JIMIN for a long second, then looked away. Fine. The word was not forgiveness. It was survival. RM pointed to Suga. You and I go for the devices. Suga nodded. JIMIN's phone and JUNGKOOK's account access. J-Hope looked alarmed. You're going back to the hospital. Not the hospital, RM said. Company crisis room, that's where they'll be controlling accounts. Director Kang's expression shifted. You won't get inside. RM looked at him. You just told us where to go. For the first time, Director Kang looked like he regretted speaking. Suga's mouth curved slightly. Thanks. JUNGKOOK shook his head. I'm going with you. Jimin's hand tightened around him. No, Jungkook looked down at him. They're using my account. And they're waiting for you to storm in so they can film you. Jungkook's jaw clenched. I'm not hiding again. You're not hiding, Jimin said. You're staying where they can't isolate you. Jungkook looked like he wanted to argue, but Jimin's grip on his sleeve weakened. His body swayed slightly. Jungkook caught him before anyone else could. Jimin, Jin moved fast. That's it. Van now, Jungkook's anger vanished under fear. He's cold. Because he's standing in the rain after waking up in a hospital, Jin snapped. Move. Director Kang tried one last time. If you leave with him. You make this kidnapping narrative very easy. Jin turned slowly, and his face was the kind of calm that made even Suga cautious. Say the word kidnapping again while I am taking my sick member to my home for private medical care, and I will personally make sure every parent in this country hears how you treat exhausted artists. Director Kang said nothing. Jin helped Jungkook guide Jimin back into the van. Jimin tried to keep his eyes open, but the edges of the world were dimming. Jungkook climbed in beside him, soaked and shaking. The moment the door closed, the noise outside dulled. Rain hit the roof. Jimin leaned back, breathing unevenly. Jungkook pulled off his wet hoodie and wrapped it around Jimin's shoulders despite already being cold himself. Jimin's eyes opened slightly. You're freezing. Jungkook's voice was rough. Be quiet. It should have sounded rude. It sounded terrified. Jimin almost smiled, but he did not have the strength. You always say that when you're scared. Jungkook froze. Jin got into the front seat, barking Jin's address to the driver. J-Hope climbed in after him, still holding the emergency kit. Taehyung entered last and sat across from Jungkook, leaving space like distance could apologize. The van moved. Outside, RM and Suga stayed behind, walking straight past Director Kang toward a second car. Before the van turned the corner, Jimin saw RM lift his phone again and heard his voice through the cracked window. We are no longer following your crisis protocol. Then the van left the alley. For a while nobody inside spoke. J-Hope checked Jimin's pulse with shaking fingers. Jin called a private doctor he trusted and said, Come to my place, no questions on the phone. Taehyung stared at his own hands. Jungkook stared at Jimin, watching every breath like the entire world depended on it. Jimin could feel the weight of that stare even with his eyes half closed. Stop counting, he whispered. Jungkook blinked. What? My breathing. Jungkook looked down. I'm not. Liar. Jungkook's mouth tightened, and for one tiny second the old them almost appeared. The version that could tease each other after long practice, exhausted but safe. Then his phone buzzed again and the moment broke. Jungkook checked it and all color left his face. Jimin forced his eyes open. What? Jungkook did not answer. Taehyung leaned forward. Jungkook! Jungkook turned the screen around. A new video had been posted from his account. This time it showed rehearsal footage, not the director. Not the medical warning. It showed Jimin and Jungkook arguing in the hallway before the collapse. The audio was clear enough to hear Jimin's voice, sharp and strained. Stop treating me like I'm weak. Then Jungkook's voice louder. Then stop lying to me. The clip cut right as Jungkook grabbed Jimin's wrist. The caption read, He told me not to interfere. I should have listened. Jimin stared at it, horrified. They're making it look like you're admitting guilt. Jungkook's face was stone now, but his hand around the phone was shaking. They have access to my account. J-Hope whispered, This is getting worse. Taehyung looked sick. Fans will think he posted it himself. Jin, still on the phone, turned around from the front. Do not respond. Jungkook looked up. If I don't, they'll keep speaking as me. Jin's voice tightened. If you respond from another account, they'll say you're spiraling. Jimin looked at the video again, at the way it turned their real fear into a fake confession. He remembered the argument now more clearly. He had been angry because Jungkook saw too much. Because Jungkook always knew when his smile was fake. Because being protected felt like being exposed. And Jungkook had grabbed his wrist not to control him, but because Jimin had nearly stumbled into the wall. Context. Always missing. Always stolen. Jimin looked at Taehyung. You were there. Taehyung nodded, voice barely working. Yes. Then record something. Everyone looked at him. Taehyung's eyes widened. What? Jimin sat up slightly, ignoring Jungkook's immediate protest. Record the truth, not a statement through the company, not a polished apology, just you say what you saw. Taehyung's face went pale. Now, Jungkook shook his head. No, they'll attack him too. Jimin turned to him. They already are, they just haven't named him yet. Taehyung looked at Jungkook. Let me. Jungkook's expression was unreadable. Why? Taehyung's voice shook. Because I made you stand alone once, I'm not doing it twice. Jungkook looked away, jaw tight, eyes wet but refusing to fall apart. Jimin handed Taehyung Suga's spare phone that had been left in the van. Say only what you personally saw, no exaggeration, no drama. Taehyung nodded. J-Hope shifted, helping frame the shot away from Jimin's weakened body. Jin said sharply, "Do not show Jimin." Taehyung held the phone with both hands. For a second, he could not speak. Then he started recording. "This is Taehyung. I was there during rehearsal. The clip being posted from Jungkook's account does not show the full situation. Jimin was sick. Jungkook noticed before most of us wanted to admit it. He told staff to stop. He grabbed Jimin's wrist because Jimin was losing balance, not because he wanted to hurt him. I know this because I saw it." His voice cracked, but he forced himself to continue. "And I also need to say this. I told Jungkook to stay quiet because I was scared of what the truth would do to us. That was my mistake. Do not use my silence to blame him." He stopped recording and lowered the phone, shaking. The van was silent. Jungkook stared at him, face unreadable. Taehyung looked terrified. "Is that enough?" Jimin's voice was soft. "It's a start." Jungkook looked down at his hands. "Why would you admit that?" Taehyung swallowed. "Because you would have admitted worse for Jimin." Jungkook closed his eyes. The forgiveness was not there yet, but something moved, something small, something alive. Then Jin's phone buzzed. He looked at it and frowned. "RM," he answered on speaker. "Tell me you have good news." RM's voice came through tense and breathless. "We found the crisis room." Suga's voice followed, farther away. "And we found Jimin's phone." Jimin sat up too fast. Jungkook caught him. "Where?" RM hesitated. "That's the problem. It's logged into Jungkook's account." J-Hope frowned. "What does that mean?" RM's voice dropped. "It means the posts are being made from Jimin's phone." For a moment, the van became completely silent. Jimin looked at Jungkook. Jungkook looked at him. Taehyung's recording still sat unsent in the spare phone, waiting like a match near gasoline. Jin lowered his phone slowly, his face tight with disbelief. J-Hope whispered, "From Jimin's phone." RM's voice came through the speaker, low and controlled, but there was anger underneath it. "Yes. The device is active in the company crisis room. They connected it to Jungkook's account using a saved login token." Jimin's throat went dry. "I never had his account saved." Jungkook's eyes darkened. "I logged in once." Everyone looked at him. He swallowed. "Months ago, during tour, my phone died before a live message, so I used Jimin's phone to check something. I thought I logged out." Jimin's face softened with pain. "You didn't know." Jungkook laughed under his breath, but it sounded like self-disgust. "I gave them the key." "No," Jimin said immediately. "They stole the door." Jungkook looked at him, and for a second the guilt in his eyes flickered. Not gone, but challenged. RM continued, "They're drafting another post right now. Yoongi and I can see the screen through the glass." Jin leaned forward. "Can you stop them?" Suga answered this time. "There are 6 people in there, 2 legal, 1 digital team, Director Kang's assistant, and a security guard. We can stop them physically, but that becomes exactly the headline they want." Jungkook's voice turned cold. "Don't touch them." RM said, "We weren't planning to." Suga muttered, "Not much." Jimin closed his eyes, forcing himself to think through the feverish pounding in his head. The company had his phone. They were using it to post as Jungkook. They were creating a false story from inside his own device. Every second they waited, another lie could go out. But if RM and Suga stormed the room, management would clip it, frame it, and add more fuel. Jimin opened his eyes. "Can you record the screen?" RM answered, "Already doing it." "Can you capture the people inside?" "Yes." "Then don't stop them yet." Jungkook turned to him sharply. "What?" Jimin looked at the phone between them. "Let them expose themselves." Jin's eyes narrowed. "Jimin, that's dangerous." "Everything is dangerous now." J-Hope shook his head. "If they post more from Jungkook's account, public damage gets worse." Jimin looked at Jungkook. "Do you trust me?" The question landed between them like a hand offered over a cliff. Jungkook went still. He had asked Jimin to trust him in the letter. Now Jimin was asking it back. Jungkook's face moved through fear, anger, guilt, and something more fragile. "Yes," he said quietly. No hesitation. Jimin nodded. "Then we let them make one more mistake while RM records it." Jungkook's jaw tightened. "And if that mistake ruins you?" Jimin's voice softened. "They already tried." RM's voice came back. "They're typing." Everyone leaned toward the phone even though they could not see. Suga read from where he stood near the glass. Caption says, "I never meant for Jimin to get hurt. I was angry. I crossed a line." Jungkook's face twisted. "No," Jimin gripped his hand. "Wait," Suga continued, voice darker. "They're attaching the hallway clip again, longer this time." RM said, "I have the screen recording. It shows the assistant uploading from your account interface on Jimin's phone." Jin's voice became sharp. That is enough. Stop them before posting. JIMIN shook his head. No. JUNGKOOK stared at him. JIMIN, if we stop it before it posts, they deny intent. They say they were drafting options. RM went silent. Suga did too. JIMIN breathed through pain and kept going. If they posted, it becomes action. Taehyung stared at him like he was seeing a side of JIMIN he had forgotten existed. Not fragile, not gentle, strategic. Hurt, yes. Weak physically, yes. But dangerous when cornered. J-Hope whispered, "You're baiting them." JIMIN's mouth tightened. They baited JUNGKOOK first. In the background of the call, Suga cursed. They posted. JUNGKOOK closed his eyes. JIMIN squeezed his hand even though he was shaking too. RM's voice came through immediately. Got it. Full capture, device visible, assistant visible, timestamp visible. Jin exhaled hard. Now get the phone. There was movement on the other side, muffled voices, then Suga's voice, calm in the way that meant he was seconds from doing something illegal. Open the door. A staff voice answered faintly, "You can't be here." RM said, "You just posted from a member's account using a confiscated device. Open the door." Another voice, legal, sharper, "This is internal crisis management." Suga replied, "Then manage this." A loud knock came through the call, not violent, heavy, final. RM spoke again. "This is being recorded. Hand over JIMIN's phone and revoke access to JUNGKOOK's account. Now." The call crackled. JIMIN held JUNGKOOK's hand tighter. JUNGKOOK's eyes stayed on him, not the phone. "You knew they would post." "I guessed. You guessed. I made an educated guess." JUNGKOOK looked like he wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. "You're impossible." JIMIN's eyes softened. "You missed me." JUNGKOOK's face crumpled before he could stop it. He looked down, swallowing hard. "I thought I wouldn't get to hear you joke again." That simple sentence destroyed the air in the van. JIMIN's own smile disappeared. He reached up slowly, touching JUNGKOOK's wrist. "I woke up." JUNGKOOK nodded, but tears slipped down his face now, mixing with the rain still on his skin. "I know. I asked for you." JUNGKOOK shut his eyes. "I know. Then don't run from the person who asked." JUNGKOOK pressed his lips together, breathing through the ache. He did not answer, but he did not pull away. On the phone, something crashed. Jin sat up straight. "Namjoon," RM's voice came through, strained. "Security tried to block Yoongi." Suga said from farther away, "I'm fine." He did not sound fine. Jimin's face changed. "What happened?" RM answered. "They opened the door, then tried to move the phone. Yoongi grabbed it first." Jin cursed. "Put Yoongi on." Suga's voice came closer. "I said I'm fine." J-Hope's voice sharpened. "That means you're not." Suga ignored him. "We have Jimin's phone, but the account access is still active from another terminal. They cloned the session." Jungkook's eyes widened. "Can they keep posting?" RM said. "Yes, unless digital revokes everything." Jimin looked at Jungkook. "Who can lock your account fastest?" Jungkook thought, then gave a name. "My personal security contact, not company private." RM heard it. "Send the contact." Jungkook took the spare phone from Taehyung and typed with shaking fingers. Taehyung watched him, then said quietly, "Post my video." Jungkook looked up. "Not from anything connected to us." Taehyung shook his head. "Use my personal account." Jin turned around. "That puts you in the fire." Taehyung's voice was quiet but certain. "I know." Jungkook stared at him. "You don't have to." Taehyung's eyes filled. "I do." Jimin looked between them. "Post it after RM sends proof of the crisis room, not before. Your testimony gives context. The screen recording gives evidence." RM said through the speaker, "I can send the capture in 2 minutes." Suga muttered, "Assuming nobody tackles us first." Jin said, "Leave now." RM's voice hardened. "We are." In the van, Jungkook watched Jimin carefully. "You're getting too calm." Jimin blinked. "What? You do that when you're close to passing out." Jimin tried to deny it, but the van blurred for a second. Jungkook caught the shift before anyone else. "Jin Hayoung." Jin turned. "What? He's fatting." J-Hope moved fast, checking Jimin's pulse again. "Jimin, look at me." Jimin forced his eyes open. "I'm here." Jungkook's voice shook. "Stay here." "I am." "No, with me." Jimin focused on him. Jungkook was close, too close to hide the fear in his eyes. Jimin lifted his hand with effort and pressed it against Jungkook's chest. "I'm with you." Jungkook covered that hand with his own and held it there like a heartbeat was an answer. Then Taehyung's phone buzzed. He looked down. "RM sent the video." Jin turned sharply. "Do it." Taehyung uploaded his testimony first. Then he attached RM's screen recording. His thumb hovered over the post button. For 1 second, he looked at Jungkook. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Jungkook's eyes were wet, but his voice was steady. "Post it." Taehyung did. The van fell silent. 10 seconds passed, then 20. Then the notifications began, not one by one, all at once. Taehyung's phone shook in his hand. J-Hope looked at the screen and his eyes widened. It's spreading. Jin checked his own phone. News accounts picked it up. JUNGKOOK looked down at the newest fake post from his account, then at Taehyung's real one exposing the source. Two truths were now fighting in public. One manufactured, one witnessed, one stolen from Jimin's phone, one confessed by Taehyung himself. Jimin exhaled shakily. Now they can't make this only about JUNGKOOK. JUNGKOOK looked at him. You planned that too, Jimin's eyes fluttered. I plan not to lose you. His hand slipped slightly from JUNGKOOK's chest. JUNGKOOK caught it, alarmed. Jimin, Jimin tried to answer, but the words would not come. The sound of the rain stretched thin. The van lights blurred. JUNGKOOK's face became a pale shape above him, panicked and calling his name. The last thing Jimin heard before the dark pulled him under again was JUNGKOOK shouting, "Drive faster!" When Jimin opened his eyes again, he was not in the hospital. That was the first thing he noticed. The ceiling above him was not white and clinical. It was warm beige, with a small light fixture he recognized from Jin's apartment. The air smelled faintly of medicine, clean towels, and the soup Jin always made when someone was sick but pretended they were not. For one brief second, Jimin let himself believe everything had slowed down. Then he heard JUNGKOOK's voice from the hallway, low and furious. I said no cameras inside. RM answered. There are no cameras inside. Then why is he checking windows? Because reporters are downstairs. How did they find us? Suga's voice came next, rougher than usual. Someone leaked Jin's address or followed the van. Jin snapped. No one leaked my address. They followed us from the second turn. I told the driver. J-Hope said. Lower your voices. He just stabilized. Jimin tried to sit up. Bad idea. Pain rushed through his ribs and down his side. A small sound escaped before he could stop it. The hallway went silent. Then JUNGKOOK appeared in the doorway. His hair was dry now but messy. His clothes changed into one of Jin's oversized black shirts, his eyes red from exhaustion. He looked like he had aged years in one night. The moment he saw Jimin awake, his entire face changed. Don't move. Jimin blinked slowly. Good morning to you too. JUNGKOOK crossed the room in 3 steps, then stopped just before the bed, like he was afraid touching him without permission would hurt. It's not morning. Jimin looked toward the window. Outside, dark city lights flickered behind curtains. Then good whatever this is. JUNGKOOK did not smile. You passed out. I noticed. For 7 minutes. Jimin's expression softened. You counted again. JUNGKOOK looked down. The doctor said it was exhaustion and shock. Your fever is still high. Her body is done negotiating. Jimin tried to joke, but JUNGKOOK's face stopped him. This was not the moment. I'm sorry, Jimin said quietly. JUNGKOOK's eyes lifted. Don't. I scared you. Don't apologize for collapsing after being pushed past your limit. I'm not apologizing for that. JUNGKOOK frowned. Jimin swallowed. I'm apologizing because part of me knew I was sick and still kept going. JUNGKOOK's face twisted. Jimin. No, listen. Jimin's voice was hoarse but steady. You saw it. You tried to stop me. I got angry because you saw what I wanted to hide. I made it harder for you to help me. JUNGKOOK looked like every word hurt. You were under pressure. So were you. That's different. No, that's the problem. You keep making yourself different when it's pain. JUNGKOOK went quiet. Outside the room, the others stayed silent. Jimin knew they were listening, but he did not care. Some conversations needed witnesses. I woke up and asked for you because even before I remembered everything, my body knew you would never leave me unless something forced you. JUNGKOOK's eyes filled again. He turned his face away, but Jimin reached for him. His hand shook in the air. JUNGKOOK saw and immediately stepped closer, taking it gently. Don't strain. Then come closer faster. JUNGKOOK let out a broken breath that almost became a laugh. He sat carefully on the edge of the bed, still holding Jimin's hand like it was something fragile and alive. Jimin looked at him. What happened after I passed out in the van? JUNGKOOK's expression darkened. Taehyung's post exploded. RM's screen recording proved your phone was used in the crisis room. The company deleted the fake posts from my account, then claimed unauthorized access by a third party. Jimin's eyes narrowed. A third party. They're trying to blame a low-level digital staff member. Of course, Director Kang hasn't been named by them, but the audio named him. JUNGKOOK nodded. The full first minute is everywhere now. Fans are demanding the unedited recording. Jimin looked at him carefully. And you still have it. JUNGKOOK's hand tightened slightly. Yes. Where? JUNGKOOK hesitated. Jimin gave him a look. JUNGKOOK sighed. RM has 1 copy now. Suga has 1. My private security contact has one encrypted copy, and the recorder is in Jin Hyung's rice container. Jimin blinked. His what? Jungkook looked tired. He said nobody searches rice properly. From the doorway, Jin shouted, because they don't. Jimin closed his eyes and laughed weakly. It hurt, but he needed that laugh. Jungkook watched him like even that sound mattered. Then the laughter faded and the room became heavy again. What's the public saying? Jimin asked. Jungkook looked away. That was enough. Jimin's voice softened. Tell me. Jungkook rubbed his thumb over Jimin's knuckles. Some believe Taehyung. Some think the company is covering something. Some still think I hurt you. Some think you and I are hiding a personal fight. We were fighting. Jungkook flinched. Not like that. No, not like that. Jimin took a breath. But we don't get to pretend the argument didn't happen just because they used it wrong. Jungkook looked at him. What are you saying? Jimin stared at the ceiling for a moment. I'm saying the truth is messy. You did grab my wrist. I did tell you to stop treating me like I was weak. You did yell, I did collapse. If we only release the parts that make us look perfect, we become them. Jungkook went still. You want to release everything. It was not a question. Jimin turned back to him. Not everything personal, but enough that no one can cut us into villains and victims. Jungkook's face tightened. The full recording includes you crying in the hallway. Jimin's throat tightened. Jungkook continued, voice low. It includes me telling the director I'd expose him. It includes Taehyung telling me to disappear. It includes you saying you hate feeling watched by me. Jimin closed his eyes. That memory returned like a bruise being pressed. I hate feeling watched by you. He had said that to Jungkook when he was feverish and ashamed, when Jungkook's concern felt too close to pity. Jungkook had gone silent after that, and still he had stayed. Still he had grabbed his wrist when Jimin stumbled. Still he had fought for him after. Jimin opened his eyes. Do you hate me for saying that? Jungkook looked shocked. No. Did it hurt? Jungkook looked down. Yes. Jimin nodded, tears gathering. Then that part is true too. Jungkook's voice shook. I don't want the world hearing you like that. Because you want to protect me. Yes, and I love you for that. Jungkook froze. The words landed quietly, but the room changed. Jimin did not take them back. He did not make them louder or explain them into something safer. He simply looked at Jungkook with exhausted honesty. Jungkook's eyes filled so fast it looked painful. In the hallway, someone moved, then stopped. Jimin knew the members heard, but he kept his focus on Jungkook. But if your protection keeps turning into you carrying all the ugly parts alone, then I can't accept it. Jungkook's lips parted, but no words came. Jimin squeezed his hand weakly. Let me stand beside you, even in the ugly parts. Jungkook lowered his head, shoulders shaking once. Not a dramatic sob, just one crack in a wall that had been holding too much. I don't know how, he whispered. Jimin's voice softened. Then learn with me. Jungkook covered his face with his free hand. Jimin waited. He did not push. Outside the room, RM's phone rang. He answered quietly, but his voice changed after a few seconds. Say that again. Jungkook lifted his head. Jimin looked toward the door. RM appeared slowly, face pale. Jin, Suga, J-Hope, and Taehyung gathered behind him. The peace in the room vanished. Jimin's stomach dropped. What? RM looked at Jungkook first, then Jimin. Director Kang is gone. Suga's jaw tightened. Gone where? RM's voice was low. No one knows, but before he disappeared, he sent one final file to the press. Jungkook stood so fast the chair beside the bed scraped the floor. What file? RM swallowed. A video from inside the hospital parking lot, longer than the clip they leaked before. Jimin's hand went cold. Jungkook's face changed. What's in it? RM did not answer quickly enough. Taehyung covered his mouth. Jin looked furious. J-Hope looked close to tears again. Suga stared at the floor like he was already preparing for impact. Jimin forced himself upright despite the pain. What is in the video? RM looked at him with grief in his eyes. It shows Jungkook on his knees begging to see you. Jungkook froze. Jimin's face crumpled. RM continued, quieter. And it shows what he promised Director Kang in exchange for 1 minute outside your room. Jimin's breath stopped. Jungkook whispered, no. Jimin looked at him. What did you promise? Jungkook could not speak. His silence was the answer before the words came. RM lowered his eyes. He promised to leave the group if the scandal touched you. The van finally stopped in front of Jin's apartment building. Rain still clung to every surface, but inside the vehicle, the air was thick with tension, the kind that made every breath deliberate and every movement careful. Jimin leaned back, eyes half closed, chest rising slowly as he tried to reclaim strength. Jungkook stayed by his side, hand still resting lightly on his shoulder, not moving, not blinking too fast, as if any sudden motion would shatter the fragile truce they had found in the chaos. Outside, the city lights reflected off puddles, blurring into long streaks, almost like the world was watching them through wet glass. Taehyung kept the phone steady in his hands, the video uploaded, but still, notifications poured in relentlessly. The others sat quiet, each listening to the faint buzz of new messages, the invisible weight of public judgment pressing down on them like a physical object. "We have to act," Jin said finally, voice low, almost a growl. "What do you mean?" Jimin's voice was hoarse. "The claims they're going to frame this as an admission. Even with the video, people will choose what they want to see." Jungkook's gaze darkened. "Then we take control of the narrative ourselves." Suga's fingers tightened around his own phone. "We can't just fight back publicly. Every post is scrutinized, every word is twisted." "Then we go private first," RM said. "Digital locks, encrypted releases. We show context before the next wave hits." J-Hope swallowed. "We're basically claiming the story for ourselves before the company spins it further." "Exactly," RM replied. Jin nodded sharply. "Do it. We secure the phone, lock all accounts. Taehyung, you keep the evidence. RM, Suga, handle digital." Jimin looked at Jungkook, worried he would argue. But Jungkook's face was calm now, almost eerily so. "We do this," he said simply. "Together." Jimin's chest tightened, relief and fear merging. "Together," he repeated. For a moment, the rain outside and the public clamor online felt irrelevant. Inside that van, they were a unit, preparing for a confrontation that had already started, even if no one outside yet understood the full story. Inside Jin's apartment, the team worked silently, efficiently. Suga set up a private secure server connection, RM organized the files, verifying timestamps and ensuring no trace of manipulation could be alleged. Jungkook stayed close to Jimin, whispering instructions, careful not to alarm him, careful not to let Jimin feel powerless again. "Don't reach for the password," Jungkook murmured. "I've got it. You just focus on breathing." Jimin nodded weakly, letting himself be guided. The room smelled faintly of disinfectant and Jin's chicken soup, but it was an anchor, a small reassurance in a storm of manipulated truths. Taehyung handed over the spare phone to RM, who verified the screen recording and cross-checked it against timestamps from the leaked clip. "Everything lines up," RM said quietly. "We can prove the posting was Jungkook. The company attempted to fabricate a narrative." Jimin's lips parted. "So the world will know." "We make sure they do," Jin said firmly. "Not carelessly. We claim the evidence, then release context in one controlled move." Jungkook leaned closer. "Are you ready for this?" Jimin's eyes met his. "I'm ready with you." Suga frowned slightly. "This isn't just exposing the company, it's exposing them to public scrutiny. Everything can go sideways." J-Hope swallowed hard. "Even us?" "Yes," RM answered. "Everyone in this van is a target if we misstep, but if we coordinate, we can control perception. Not entirely, but enough." The room went silent as the implications settled. For the first time since the incident began, Jimin felt some power returning. Not complete control, but enough to stand beside Jungkook, enough to face the world with the truth as they knew it. Outside, rain continued to fall, indifferent to human schemes, but inside, the pulse of resistance and claim beat steadily in the cramped apartment. Jungkook held Jimin's hand again, guiding him to sit on the couch, wrapped in a thick blanket. "You can't speak yet," Jungkook said, voice soft but firm. "But your presence is enough." Jimin's chest tightened, but he obeyed. Jungkook's thumb brushed over his knuckles. "We'll let the others handle digital and press for now. We move only when everything is locked." Taehyung's phone buzzed again, notifications piling up. "The post is spreading like wildfire," he murmured. "Even with our counter, some accounts are resharing the leak." "Let them share," Jimin whispered. "We own the context now." Jin nodded. "Exactly, the difference is we now know the source and we control evidence, no more assumptions." RM added, "We send a single official video with full context, time-stamped, verified, no edits. They see everything at once." Suga exhaled. "Digital evidence chain is airtight. Company manipulation is documented." J-Hope leaned back, tension still high. "And the public? They'll interpret debate and hopefully side with reality," Jin said. "It's risky, but it's the only way." Jimin's gaze softened on Jungkook. "And if they do," Jungkook's lips twitched, a mixture of worry and determination. "Then we deal with the fallout together. That's the point. We're not alone anymore." Jimin's eyes shimmered. "Together," he repeated, and Jungkook nodded firmly. Outside, the city remained oblivious to the small, quiet war being planned inside the apartment. unaware that one controlled claim could flip a narrative that had already gone viral. Minutes stretched like hours as the team finalized encryption, locked down accounts, verified timestamps, and rehearsed messaging. JUNGKOOK stayed close to JIMIN, hands occasionally brushing as he checked on him, whispering small reassurances. "You're stable," he said. "Breathing steady, I've got you." JIMIN's lips curved faintly. "I know. No excuses, no weakness." JUNGKOOK's voice was softer now, almost a whisper. "You just focus on healing, we handle the rest." JIMIN leaned against him, feeling the strange comfort of being protected without being infantilized. Taehyung finally leaned back, exhaustion clear. "Everything's ready," he said. "Upload in 5, RM confirmed. "Yes, all evidence verified. We send a single file, time-stamped. Screen capture included, no ambiguity." Suga's fingers tapped against the table. "Once this goes out, there's no turning back. The company can deny, spin, or retaliate, but the truth will be public." Jin nodded. "We'll have fans, media, and anyone watching see it in one controlled release. No leaks, no partial stories." J-Hope swallowed. "Everyone ready?" A brief nod went around the room. JUNGKOOK squeezed Jimin's hand gently. "We're ready." Jimin took a deep breath. "Do it." Taehyung pressed upload. The file left their hands and entered the digital storm outside. Notifications immediately began popping, accounts lighting up with shares, comments, debates, and heated reactions. The room was tense but quiet. Everyone waited, eyes glued to the screens, hearts pounding, knowing that in minutes the world would react. JUNGKOOK's eyes never left Jimin, reading his expression, anticipating fear, concern, and fatigue. But all he saw was strength forged in crisis. Jimin leaned closer, voice low. "We survived the first storm." JUNGKOOK's hand pressed against his cheek lightly. "We're still in it, but together." "Together," JUNGKOOK repeated, and for the first time in hours, the tension in his body relaxed slightly, though the battle was far from over. The apartment was silent, save for the faint hum of electronics, the rain outside, and the steady heartbeat of Jimin against JUNGKOOK's chest. Outside, the public began reacting, discussions igniting across platforms, the narrative shifting from manipulation to truth. The first claim was theirs, and it was only the beginning. The screens glowed in the dim light of Jin's living room, notifications cascading like rainfall over the digital skyline. Jimin sat up straighter, feeling the pulse of the public reaction through the devices, a wave of validation and fear, understanding and judgment, all crashing at once. JUNGKOOK stayed close, hand brushing against his, tethering him to reality, to warmth, to the tangible world beyond the screens. Taehyung leaned over the laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard, hesitating for a moment before documenting every comment, every share, every repost. "It's spreading faster than we anticipated," he whispered, voice taut with disbelief. RM nodded, jaw tight. "Exactly as planned. The controlled release worked. People see context, they see evidence." Suga didn't look at the screens. He was staring at JUNGKOOK, expression unreadable. "You too, you're still standing after everything." JUNGKOOK's eyes met his briefly, then returned to Jimin. "We had to." Jimin's chest rose and fell quickly. "We couldn't let them manipulate it any further, not after all that's happened." Outside, the rain had softened, mist rising from the streets, blurring the neon lights into a hazy glow. It was as though the world was holding its breath along with them. Jin, always practical, broke the silence. "You've both been pushed to the edge. Now it's time to breathe, even if just for a moment." Jimin looked down at JUNGKOOK, seeing the exhaustion etched into every line of his face. "I can't breathe if you're still holding everything inside." JUNGKOOK's jaw tightened. "I'm learning too," he said softly, "but I can't let go of my responsibility to you." Jimin reached up and pressed a hand against JUNGKOOK's cheek. "You don't have to carry it alone anymore." JUNGKOOK's eyes flickered with emotion, restrained and raw at the same time. "I don't want to lose you again, not to them, not to anything." Jimin's hand tightened. "Then don't, but let me stand with you, we face it together." For a moment the room was silent except for the soft hum of computers and the quiet tapping of fingers recording evidence. Even Taehyung looked up, realizing the tension had shifted. "They won't break you this time," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. JUNGKOOK's hand moved to cover Jimin, entwining their fingers as if anchoring both of them. "They tried," JUNGKOOK murmured, "but we're still here." Jimin's lips curved faintly, a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and fragile joy. "We're still here." Outside, the world began to react more visibly to the full truth, but inside that small apartment, the only world that mattered was the one they could touch, breathe in, and survive together. Hours passed, the digital storm raging outside, notifications never ceasing. JIMIN leaned against JUNGKOok, eyes closed, feeling the warmth of his presence like armor against every rumor and speculation that might follow. "Do you ever stop?" JIMIN asked, voice soft, almost a whisper. "Stop what?" JUNGKOok's head tilted slightly, tired but attentive. "Holding everything in, trying to protect me, trying to be the hero no one asked for." JUNGKOok's lips pressed together. "I can't stop, not when it's you." JIMIN exhaled slowly. "It's not your burden alone." JUNGKOok's eyes flickered, dark and stormy. "It has been." "Then let it not be any more," JIMIN said firmly, his hand moving to grasp JUNGKOok. "Let us be the ones who share it, together." The tension between them softened slightly, replaced by a fragile, shaky bond strengthened by fire and fear. Outside, the city carried on, oblivious, while inside, a private victory was quietly being claimed. RM spoke from the corner, still monitoring the spread of information. "Engagement is skyrocketing. Fans are analyzing every detail. Context is finally dominant over manipulation." J-Hope exhaled, relief visible even in his tired posture. "Finally, they're seeing it." Taehyung lowered the phone, exhaustion evident. "And no one can say it was one person's fault anymore. It's documented, verified." Jin walked over, placing a reassuring hand on both of them. "This is the moment you reclaim your narrative. The claim has been made. Now you both just exist. For now." Jimin looked at Jungkook. "For now," he echoed, the phrase tasting bittersweet, knowing the storm outside would rage on, but confident they had found an anchor in each other. Jungkook's hand squeezed his firmly. "For now," he repeated. Silence settled, filled with subtle understanding, quiet triumph, and the heavy weight of survival. The night stretched into early morning, the rain now only a faint drizzle. Outside, the city's neon lights reflected in puddles, almost like fragmented memories of the chaos they had survived. Jimin's breathing had steadied, his fever finally subsiding, and for the first time he could look at Jungkook without flinching. "We did it," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. Jungkook's eyes were fixed on him, unblinking. "We survived the manipulation. We survived them." "Not entirely," Jimin said softly, "but together, yes." Jungkook's expression softened, the first genuine relief cracking through the exhaustion. "Together," he confirmed. Taehyung stretched, his posture loose for the first time in hours. "We all survived," he added. RM and Suga nodded, still tense but sharing in the quiet victory. Jin looked at the group, satisfied. "Now rest, later we strategize. For now we survive." The room, once heavy with tension, now held a quiet catharsis. Jimin exhaled fully, leaning into Jungkook. "I trust you." Jungkook's eyes glimmered. "I trust you too, always." Outside, the digital storm continued, but the narrative was theirs now, partially controlled, partially reclaimed. The first victory had been claimed, the first catharsis achieved, and for the first time, Jimin allowed himself to hope. Morning came, pale sunlight filtering through the curtains, highlighting droplets clinging to the windows. The team gathered quietly, watching the analytics of the posts, the public reaction stabilizing, the company scrambling to regain narrative control. Jimin and Jungkook sat side by side, hands still intertwined, both exhausted but alert. RM, Suga, Jin, J-Hope, and Taehyung reviewed evidence, each aware of the fragile peace that had been established. Jimin finally spoke. This is more than just proving the truth. It's about surviving without losing ourselves." Jungkook nodded, his fingers brushing against Jimin's, a subtle comfort. "And we didn't lose each other." Jimin smiled faintly. "Not this time." Outside, the city awoke, indifferent yet full of stories, but inside, the group had claimed a personal victory, a catharsis forged from chaos, fear, and relentless loyalty. The storm had passed for now, leaving silence, strength, and an unspoken promise between Jimin and Jungkook. And in that quiet, fragile moment, the reality settled. They had survived the company, the leaks, the public, and themselves together. But beyond the windows, shadows moved. Notifications chimed endlessly, and the next wave was already forming, unseen, unpredictable, waiting for the right moment to strike.